point underdogs, and they wound up winning by 9 or 10 yesterday. So shout out to the Raptors. All right, it's 11 o'clock. Obi, thank you so much, man. Great day today. Look, we want to make sure that you guys all come back every single day at 8 a.m., but we got a treat for you now because it's been a little bit of a while there. Daryl was on the desk a couple weeks ago, I think, and back today. So filling in for Joe and Neil, Obi and Adara. So Adara with Sharif on the midday show. You don't have to do anything. It should flip over. If it doesn't, man, go find it on our page. It's the midday show. I'm going to try to head to the gym, man. I mean, Sharif has now motivated me. I brought this stuff in. I was always going anyways, but I was a little bit questioning the weather. Yeah. But, you know, we'll get there. I got the boots going on there, and we'll put those on. And here comes silver. Right back to flat again, Obi. So let's see what winds up happening with silver. Ciao for now. It's Sean. That's Obi. Midday show is on right now.
Boom! Greetings and salutations. Well, people, welcome to the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara, and I am from my people at chat. Let's say hello to everybody. Shout out to Johnny, Just Be Trading. Loving it. We got Evan. Oh, well, yeah, it fell down, so you know. It's actually not on. It's actually not on. I do apologize for that. All right. Shout out to Don Sharifo and Fluffy Hippo. We got other Zinc. We good now? Dino, Travman for real. Shout out to Joey's Got Distracted. I love that one. We got Ronaldo 341. Mike PD Rider. We got PC Hoon. D Dino. We got the OG Fat Figure as well as Buffalo Soldier Son. Shout out to Jeremy Crypto and 2 Rich Granny. Dexter Smith's in the house. So is Cool Man and Drew Farrell's joining us as well. Ola, right back at you, Siva. We got The Real Dangerous and Tron and on Eliza 59188. And shout out to Ahmed. We got 7x54. Who else, man? We got Jerry, something or another, and Commoner of Sense. Shout out to you and shout out to everybody. Good morning, Adara.
Good morning, Sharif. Yeah, I just logged on here. I had a little bit of a start. Basically, what occurred was that I was having issues getting the computer, and I was like living this morning. I was so alive, and then all of a sudden at like 10:30, it starts to feel like a vampire bat has like zooped all my energy. Like I'm not exact. I went from like 100 to 0 real quick. Shout out to Drake. So yeah, a little bit tired, trying to liven up that energy. I do have trades to show you guys, just not at the second because all of my orientation mode has been flipped. I can't even see the chat, so I'm just gonna fix all my screens around. But I can talk about like a trade while I'm here. So I'll talk about ASML, Sharif, I know this is a name that you are involved in. And so here's the deal with my good friend ASML. What occurred here? Oh, wow, this looks like it's gonna set up again. So what happened was so ASML I find lately it's been gapping up a lot. And usually when this thing gaps up, like a lot of spready tickers, it doesn't want to revert right away. It wants to keep going. So I like this kind of breakout level. Obviously, I missed the true 1 minute breakout, but I was like, okay, I like this one as well. This would have worked, but something was telling me, Adara, just cut your losses, just get out at 10:53. It doesn't want above it. I didn't, but then my stop was like here. So I had room, but I just saw what was going on in the book here, and I was like, just get out at 13:49, right call. Then I flipped short. Now you could argue, Adara, why did you flip short? And I will admit, sometimes I flip way too quickly. In this case, I did stand by it because I did not like what I was seeing in the book, and I was like, yo, this is a round VWAP. This is just not tenable. Take the short. So I took the short here, just around VWAP, 13.48, so about $1 below where I stopped myself out of the other trade. And I was risking actually more on this, like not share size, but monetarily, because I was risking like $6 to this high. Anyways, then I added, and then I moved my stop to this high, and then took some profit here. This was, again, this was like manual, because I was just like, I don't like what I'm seeing at 13.44. Fine that I took that out there. Then this at 13.41, I was like, yeah, I can't. And then I stand by that call as well. I missed this short. It's devastating, but it is what it is. And now I think if we break this, what is this, 13.31s, I actually really like this. I don't know if I'd risk at 13.38. I'm going to see if there's another level. There were 2 other trades that I was in, but right now I have to switch everything over. So I will send you over to Sharif in this.
All right, we're doing it live right now on SPHL. Multiple halter. Here we go. We're already $1 in the money. Here comes the halt. 14.14. We're in. 15.28 is what we're lighting up. Let's see if this is going to be a false halt. It's up 580%. Put some dang respect on this one's name. 3, 2, 1. There's the gray out. We're in the Halt Katina, man. We're on a banger already, over $1, quick as you freaking like. SPHL is him at the moment. All right, so we're gonna have to calm down now, keep an eye out on the top. We're not gonna fly blind like we did yesterday with ROLR, thankfully, because this is on the Nasdaq. So let's look at what the top is. Already, we're seeing zig, zag, the Halt level, the Halt price, I should say, 1528. We're already seeing a huge drop in the top into 1410. Now it's bouncing back into 1483. So the earliest this will be open is 11:10:09. All right, we get these halts in volatility halts, that is, not the other type of halt, which is news pending, in waves of 5 minutes. So at the earliest 11:10:09. It could be later, it could be 11:15:09. We're gonna have to keep an eye out on this one, and we'll see what's going on. Barely taken anything out of this so far. So we're still holding, and we're doing it live, and we're gonna see if we can take a little bit more on this bad boy. All right, I was told there was a super chat. All right, shout out to Venue 42. He's already dropping 5 nice ones in the chat, and we're gonna thank him for that. Took short at GLD. I mean, I think you mean you took GLDD short. How does the chart look? Well, now that we're halted, I have time to take a look at that. Typically, you know, I try to stay away from anything not small cap gapper related, but we'll have a look at this one real quick. All right, so that's a daily. You're getting a big boy breakout through 14. Clearly 14 here had been a bit of a level that we couldn't clear. GLDD, by the way, is up 12, almost in 3/4 on the day. Intraday, not looking all that bad. A monster breakout there. The volume coming later in the day. I want to say around 10:45. This 5-minute candle, the breakout candle, yes, at 10:45, had 213,000 shares. HOD on this monster, 1580. Looks like we're dropping back down into 1544. Give me a second because it's not updating on my screen, so I've got to throw it on to the watch list on the side. So 1545 is what we're seeing right now. So look, my levels are as follows. You're getting the 10 EMA and the volume weighted average price both pointing, funny enough, at the whole dollar level. That is 15. To me, that's a money possible, like an entry point is what I'm trying to say. You're getting the whole dollar, possible psychological support, formerly resistance. You're getting the 10 EMA, off which a lot of shorter term traders trade, and the volume weighted average price, which we know is both used by retail and institutional. So I like the correlation with all three, and that makes me look at $15 whole dollar level for a bounce. Now, sometimes you may not get it. It gets to be a crowded trade. I'm looking at 15. She's looking at 15. Even Obi's looking at 15. And so I sometimes like to front run the level a little bit. That's just a little bit my style. Now, you can chart off something a little bit, you know, smaller time frame, like the one. The one here looks like it's finding support at the 20 EMA, at least momentarily. I wouldn't try to be catching a falling knife and say, hey, maybe there's a yellow line here on the screen, maybe it holds up there. I'd like to see proof that it's gonna hold up. To me, proof means waiting for the first 5-minute candle to make a new high, but if you're gonna chart on the one, then it would be the 1-minute candle to make a new high. So looks good, good breakout on the day, but really nothing that I'm going to trade anyway. So keeping an eye out on that. Just keeping an eye here, sorry, on some of the, sorry guys, some of the comments are getting held back by Streamlabs. I'm not really sure why. They're not really all that bad. And I'm trying to kind of edit them as we go. So if your comment gets held back, I do apologize. Now, as we wait for this one to open, which has another minute or so, maybe a bit more, let me tell you about another small cap gapper that's making moves midday here. CJMBB, beautiful ascending wedge breakout. Now, you are gonna get pullbacks here when you get near the high of the day. You got it initially at 845 when this one got to the pre-market high, and you just got it right now. The official high day got printed at 1105, $4.47, but it seems to me like it's $4 resistance, because every time we clear 4, we're almost always reverting back. Now, that's the bad news. What is the good news? The good news is the lows are sequentially higher. That means buyers are getting more exuberant on every downturn. So I like this ascending wedge pattern, whether it ends up clearing 4 decisively or has to encounter bamboozlement along the way. Your guess is as good as mine, but CJMB, you better believe it, is on my watch list.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we're logged in, we're set up, we're living, we're thriving, we're vibing, and now I can tell you about my other trades. Now, this first trade here It's when I started to realize, I mentioned earlier, being like really exhausted and feeling like, Edward Cullen and his family were trying to have a snack. So again, just a weird way of saying I realized I was getting really tired. So Eli Lilly here though, if I go to the 5-minute, congrats on that trade, by the way, Sharif, I just saw that fist pump. Let's talk here about Eli Lilly. So this was yeah, it's funny. In this, it did pass the 5-minute. It was a 5-minute prior bar high break, I swear. It does not look like this in this chart. That's why I liked it. The book supported that. I got in, and then I was like, this actually kind of looks nasty on the book. Like, I don't really know. I was doing a segment while this was happening, and then I was like, oh, I can't get it. And then I came back, got stopped out, got slipped like over $1. Thank God I was really, really small sized into this, or thank goodness, sorry. So yeah, that's the deal with Eli Lilly, and that was, I get trying the reversion. What I don't get is like, just trying it in that way, and I think again that's what, like, it's always kind of hard to tell. Do you feel like you're wrong because the trade didn't work out, or do you feel like you're wrong because you actually made a mistake? And so that also brings us to our friend Oracle, because I think I have one example of being wrong because the trade just didn't work out. This first one where I do think things were valid. The second, I'm like, I think I took an L, taking less L's, making more M's. So yeah, so this, well, hopefully right now, no. But let's talk here about ORCL. So I like this. This is the 1 minute now. This is kind of dicey because I literally been trying to implement a new rule where I don't take these, like for example, you have lower, high, then you have lower, low, then you make a slightly higher low, and then you double tap that higher low. So I've been trying to implement a rule where I don't take those breakdowns and I just wait instead for the lower low. In this case, again, I liked it on the tape, whatever, I risked it here, it wicks me out, and then we go quadunk. I didn't have a natural place to get back in, though. This would have been one, but then I'm like, oh yeah, like let's, and I do the same thing I did earlier. I take, instead of the lower low, I take the double bottom of this higher low, which is again, like, what are you doing, girl? Whatever. I knew I was gonna get stopped out of this. I just watched this, and I was like, I should have punched out manually, but the tape wasn't really suggesting that. By the time I would have punched out manually, I got stopped out. So it is what it is, but guys, I want you to message me in the chat. I wanna see how y'all are doing. I wanna know, how are you trading? What's the vibe? What are you guys looking at? And if you want to look at any tickers, please make sure you put that $ in the chat and whatever ticker you're looking at. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to go $ LLY because I'm consistently in character. So take a look at that there. Speaking of LLY, there's an entry I kind of like on it. So right now it's doing something I do not adore on any ticker, but especially a spready one, where you're trading a range, not just on the chart, but also on the tape. And so this low here of this range, 1830, high of this range, around 2170s. So I'm gonna wait for a break either way. I don't like this though, because I feel like if I'm waiting for a break either way, it's usually a fake break, whatever direction it does first. I'm also really, really tempted to lean long because this still looks like a rounded top. So that's on watch. Also on watch here is our friend Goldman Sachs. And this is, I don't want to chase this. The one entry that I really liked on this that I completely missed was around here. I think it was this consolidation, and yeah, I'll switch to the 3 minute because I don't know why I'm on a 1 minute here. I'll be able to see better. Yeah, so this, I really wanted this. I missed that. Obviously, it went off. It doesn't matter because I wasn't in the trade, but this Goldman Sachs, if we revert, I really want that, but I'm also cool with continuation. I have no problem trading this as continuation here for Goldman Sachs. Again, let me know what you're trading and let me know how you're doing today. We're gonna send you over back to Sharif.
All right, guys, we're back. We're in CJMB. I caught a money fill through 4 at, I believe, 397. Best profit taker so far. We're into the candle high currently here at 35. Coming back down into 4 to be expected. We finished yapping about how this one has trouble closing above $4. But I'm going to continue riding the higher low trend. I want to bring in my black charts in a minute, but I want to conclude this trade. I'm going to put my next profit taker above the official day high. So official day high is 47s. We're putting it at 55. Now it's going to be a profit taker. Now I don't think that that's going to fill right away. Quite frankly, I think that there will be a little bit of zig, a little bit of zag, but this one has the propensity to break out quite aggressively. I'm not talking about SPHL aggression, but this one definitely can move 20, 30 pennies at a time. So you need to be accounting for that both ways, right? And what I mean by both ways is you got to have your profit takers at those levels to wet the beak because it's not going to hang out there for much longer, or for very long, I should say. So unless you're super quick with the hotkeys, better to be safe than sorry, throw in those profit takers. But that works the other way as well. So you've got to have your stop in place, because as quickly as this could be at 425, as quick as it could be at 397. So make sure you're accounting for that. And by the way, SPHL is a monster, an absolute monster. It is up 665%, and it's $2 off the high of the day. 1938 high, trading at 1734. It's obviously a very dangerous trade, but it is riding trend. So long as it's riding trend, ride that wave. But for goodness sake, please use good risk management parameters. Make sure you're taking profits along the way, you're using stops, and you're using the requisite size relative to your experience in your account. So we're going to keep an eye here on CJMB. Got a higher low currently, but it's got now 2 lower highs. So I'm basically basing my higher low and lower high analysis off the 1105 candle. The 1105 candle is as follows: 358 low, 447 high. 1110 candle, 436 high, 387 low, and we just opened this 1115 candle, which has a 422 high and a 408 low. It is already going to lose that low, but what I'm going to do, because I don't have that many shares left, I'm going to take advantage of movements back into the 10 EMA on the 5 and or VWAP. So I'm going to have an at spot at 376 and 350. I perceive this one to be basically trending in a way that is putting in higher lows, that is unbroken. So I want to take advantage of that. So let's go ahead and we're going to throw a small resting DCA trade. I'm going to put it at 77s to front. Well, I'm going to have to put it a little bit higher than that. We're going to put it at 82s because, it gets to be a little bit of crowded trade. So we'll throw that on there. Let's see if it triggers. But SPHL is going to halt again. It is up 826%. False halt at 2085. Dipping back down now into 2019.50 it goes. The false halt was at 2085. New halt level limit up is 21, I believe, 16. It's 21.16. So limit up on SPHL is going to be 21.16. So you're always going to be able to see that. If you're watching my screen, you're going to see a red rectangle on the level 2. You're going to see one on the left and the right. The one on the right is the one that I'm worried about right now because we're trending up, not down. So limit up, 21.55 now. It's moved up. So be on the lookout there. I'll always be able to keep you guys apprised of the limit up, limit down, thanks to the best back-end team in the biz. Shout out to Real Trading. Okay, so SPHL is doing it live right now. I don't have a trade on it. It's too extended. It's too dangerous for me at the moment, but clearly very much running. And here comes 21.55. We're awfully close to that limit up again. So let's just watch here. Let's see if we enter that halt parameter thing where it starts showing the same price on the time and sales. Not quite yet. So we're going to have to pack our patience here. So how are we doing the other trade? Neither got the beak wet, nor have I added anything here. So the current bar has a higher low, man. So it looks like I'm going to have to base my trade for the moment on this higher low. Like I was looking for general higher lows, not candle by candle higher lows, because that won't let me into the trade. All right, good. 88 just showed up there, but look how quickly 88 got bought up. Now back up into 415. So I had my resting order at 82. Didn't give me anything at 82, sadly, because it only got to 88s. But here comes a $0.25 again, and this looks awfully bullish. Huge bottoming tail candle right now on the 1115 candle on CJMB. Really strong and really directional. Several triple-digit winners. Has me, I don't even know. Like, I can't even tell you guys what else I'm looking at over here because we're fixated on these two. But that's okay. But I do have others that I wanted to mention later. IBRX, one of them, RZLV, another one, and then possibly AUID. We'll get to those momentarily, but I just want to let this trade resolve. What are you looking at, Adara?
Yeah, right now I'm actually in Goldman Sachs. We are $1 in the money on this already, but I mean, it's Goldman Sachs. I'm not like, getting too excited. That's not the point. The point of this is what is trade? Why am I trading this? Why do I like it? And what am I trying to do with it? So let's talk GS because I kind of had to get fresh with the spread on this, Sharif. What I had to do is, this is like a $2 spread, not right now, but it was when I entered and it has been pretty consistently. And I have no issues with $2 spreads. What I do have an issue with is a $2 spread that's not being super communicative on a stock that is doing almost 2 million shares in volume. If you're a $2 spread and you're like trading 300,000 shares, I'm like, yo, hit me up. Like that's my vibe, right? This is not that. And so with that in mind, Adara, why would you enter it? I'll tell you. So as you can, oh yes, Goldman Sachs, let's go. So as you can see here, this is like kind of topping tail. We get it to that 972, and then much like CEO CEO David Solomon, when he's DJing, we drop the beat. We get all the way down here. I liked this crack. I got involved. I think the proper entry was 969, but I got it at 968 because I was reading the spread. I was like, I'm not getting a 69 print here. So I got the 68 right between 6.9 and 6.7. And so then, yeah, let's see. I've never said that before, sorry, guys. But let's see how this goes. I had to risk like $4 on this, which I think for this type of trade is totally warranted. Now, you might be like Adara. A place to take profit would and could be this 962 halves. And that'd be great, you know? It's like whatever, how many dollars? $5.50 in the money, but like I said, I'm not doing this for the dollar club. I'm here so I can club with CEO David Solomon when he DJs, and I want this VWAP. I want VWAP, and I want VWAP so badly I can taste it. I'm going to take half out here at 954, so I'm going to give it a couple dollars because it's Goldman Sachs, and I do not trust it, but I am very pleased as punch with this here trade. Now, I also have to recognize right now the spread's $1.50, so if I decide I get panicked on the spread and I want to punch out manually, I'm going to have to read the spread to try to figure out my exit. And I talked to you guys about this before too. What I'm going to want to do is I'm going to midpoint it. So if I'm seeing 963.60s on the ask and the bid here is 962.10s, what's roughly halfway? I mean, 963 is a little bit probably too high, but I'm going to do something around here like that, 963. Again, we're already out. We're not already out. We're already bouncing here, so I'm probably should have gotten that 962 halves out, and I think I might set a B quitter here. Shout out to Sharif there just in case, but either way, please just punch with this here trade, and I was so busy reading this book that I wasn't really looking at anything else. Eli Lilly, I've talked about, the weirdest little range of all time. Right now, this is just not my steez. I don't have time or energy to wait for her to do her thing. I mentioned ASML short, but I wanted that low of day break, which clearly we are not getting. So I am going to show you guys what that looked like. So we looked like we could have broken low of day, then we bounced. At this point, okay, I do like, almost gave a pushback there. I do like that 1340 rejection because that was prior support, but I don't love it enough to justify a short here. That being said, if we break below 1337 and we risk to 1340, that's slightly more appealing, but not entirely so. Let's see what we do here at VWAP. Baby Hands Donnie saying, Adara, you're the Energizer Bunny. Ironically, I am very tired today. But thank you for the kind words there. I hope you guys all are having a great day. And again, tag us with that $sign. Put it in the chat. 1965 kids saying, Adara is the short queen. Yeah, I feel like I get the reputation for being short biased because I think I usually take a lot of shorts when I'm up here. But as I mentioned last week, I like to take all the trades. You know what I mean? I'm trying to do a little bit of everything here, right? Like, much like what we had our friend U.S. President Donald Trump say. He likes Intel, but he wants to invest in other things too, right? So I can like shorts, and I can think that a lot of my playbooks are short-oriented. I think I have a good instinct for shorts, and I've said before as well, I feel like spready tickers are a lot better for shorts because I find they kind of mess you up on the spread sometimes if you take them long. However, that doesn't mean that I'm short exclusive by any means. I do not like that we are struggling to get back below 964, so I might have to make some, I have to make some decisions here. I don't think getting out of the entire position is at all warranted, though I might, like as I mentioned here, take a bid to take out some at 963s. Only ticker I'm looking at right now, as I mentioned, because nothing else is setting up right now. How you doing, Sharif?
All right, shout out to Toby. Thank you very much, Toby, for the $5 super chat. I apologize, did not see it first time around. We'll get to the trade on CJMB in a second. I'm back involved in this one and added to the position. And here it comes again to the high side, but we'll cover this for Toby. Can you look at DVLT chart? Lots of news this past week, but heavily shorted. All right, DVLT, not one that we've seen many times on the show. All right, here we go. So intraday today, not my cup of tea. First and foremost, kind of trading well below that dollar at around 74 pennies, which is not exclusionary in and of itself, but when it's up 4%, it is exclusionary. 72 penny close. Currently trading at 74.5. High a day looks like it's around 78 pennies, give or take. This isn't for me, but clearly you had a beautiful recovery yesterday off that 70 penny area, and when all was said and done, by around 5 o'clock when the halt parameters were off, we got to about 84 pennies. 8 o'clock came around, and it looks like the closing print at 8 was about 80. We kind of held that level for the majority of the pre, and then came the opening bell, and that was as good as we were going to do anyway. So we're below the pre-market high. We're right around VWAP right now, so it doesn't really fail that as much as it fails the pre-market high, and also sub $1, and also only up 3 3/4. Now, intraday, not for me. Now, if you're asking about the daily, you you get lots of volatility on this bad boy. As you can see, this topping tail candle back on the 24th of November basically caused an unbroken downtrend here where you lost about 80% of the company's value. And so, yeah, the lower highs seem to be operative, likewise with the lower lows. Really the only thing that's holding us back from that is this 50 penny area low that we put in back, I believe, on New Year's Eve, the 31st of December. I personally don't like it, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a trade to be had here. If you're asking about the technicals, this is not a good looking chart. It looks like it ran here quite well. A bit of a head and shoulders formed with maybe a bit of a skewed neckline, but nonetheless, you saw the downtrend subsequent, so maybe it ended up holding up. Sorry, couldn't be a bit more positive, but yeah, sub $1, not really looking good intraday, up 3 3/4. What's the volume on this monster anyway? What do we got? About 58 million shares today, so there's ample amount of liquidity. You can probably get in and get out without a whole lot of issues. Shout out to Toby, thank you for that, brother, but I'm sorry I couldn't be a bit more positive on the stock you wanted me to look at. Now, going back here to CJMB, I did add to the position at 405. We've already scalped out into 27. I'm still holding a couple of pieces. And I'm also looking at getting more. I still have my order resting at 82s, which probably is not accurate anymore because it's supposed to be shadowing the 10 EMA. And the 10 EMA, as we know, of course, is a dynamic level, constantly adjusting with the price action. But here it comes again, pumping up to 30. I've got a profit taker at 33, and there it is again. Now I'm north of 55. Here comes the high of the day at 47. Not quite, though. Not quite. High of the candle. This candle, 44s. No, that can't be accurate. I just saw prints higher than that. Give me a sec. 46. Okay, so we just tested the high of the day, so there are sellers, and there it goes through the high into 450. Your boy's waiting at 55. So by definition, we're gonna have to clear that psychological area of resistance, and there it is into the high, 490. We got 405 on. Good trade here. Let's set up again, though. We're gonna look for a move back into about 4 1/4 right now on CJMB. Up 323%, and it's taken all the steam and the love and the eyes away from SPHL, which is on a 3-candle unbroken downtrend. So what's CJMB got to offer for us right now? Is it gonna clear 5? It's a 490 high, baby. So it's basically knocking on the door of that $5 level. How do we get back in? Here's a suggestion. Try to spot local areas of support and resistance using a smaller time frame. I personally like the 5-second. Some other people use the 10. There's the 15. Some people only want to go down as low as the 1. Whatever works for you. What I'm trying to get at is you can typically spot areas where a local buyer is buying and or selling on the smaller time frame, and that would be basically your hint. Hey, I can step in here, or let me step in a little bit higher than that, knowing that there's a buyer at this, like let's just say 480 level to backstop me. You're only going to be able to notice that if you have a smaller time frame working. Now, as I was speaking, a new high day got put in. $4.95. So beautiful flat top break. How many times are we going to say this pattern is money, baby? You get that big boy breakout, 845. You clearly have a $4 level of resistance. But the beautiful thing about this was the higher lows, the ascending wedge pattern that we're constantly talking about. And there it goes into 528. It is up now 340%, dropping below 5 though as people take profits and or get short above 5. Let's see if we're going to have the same issue with 5. The answer is no. It is 538 now. Limit up is 543, guys. Limit up 543, so keep your eye out on that level. We could see a halt parameter, and now we are in that halt parameter. False halt, though, coming right back down, right back into the halt parameter again. 543 is the level. We need 10 seconds at this level. False halt again, dropping back down into the 30s. So as you can see, the halt level has changed now. It's not 43 anymore. It's 61. That's because the timer is adjusting, right? It's up 10% within 5 minutes. Oh, no, the timer's resetting, so the price has to go up to adjust for that. So keep your eye out on CJMB. I'm not done with it, and I'll keep my eye on SPHL as well.
I have a question here, Sharif. So I don't trade these like small caps. I'm legit curious. What is like, 'cause you mentioned 58 million shares daily volume for DVLT. What is like a good daily volume for like a small cap to have for you to want to be caring about it, I guess?
Well, it depends on the price, right?
Yeah.
So if it's if it's south of $1, it could do a few hundred shares, and that's still not a few hundred million. And it still not might be enough, right?
Okay.
If it's $15 and it's done a couple of million shares, it might be enough. So it's mostly price dependent.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because I obviously trade like a lot lower volume, so always a bit curious. I want to talk here about Goldman Sachs, which we might get stopped out of, but I did take profit. Now, I know I said I'm holding till VWAP, like I'm going to wait here with David Solomon until the club closes. No, but here's the thing, guys, like you do have to be reactive, and that's something I'm trying to work on more as a trader. Like I know I have very much been of the opinion, I've done so vocally, where I'm like, oh, like I have a stop, I'm not moving my stop till I have a reason to, but you also have to react to what the market's telling you, and in this case, the market was telling me I just did not like the slightly higher low here on the 1 minute. I did not like that curl, so I got out half here at 963.70. So about like $5 in the money. Again, not that that should matter, and I'm trying to make that matter less, but just so you guys understand. Now my stop right now is again just above this little tranche. So if we could very much get around here and get out. That's completely fine. This could be trying to do a reversion of the reversion and climb back to the upside. But I'm going to stay at this point until my stop gets run, until it gets stopped out, I guess. Unless I see anything in the book that makes me want to leave earlier. How's Lily doing? Guys, Lily wants me to maybe get involved here finally. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Lily wants to take me to the prom. So I've been watching here for Eli Lilly, as I mentioned, like the world's most boring range of all time in history. Slightly joking, slightly not. I just need this 1830 or 10-1830 to break, and every time I think she's going to break it, she comes back. So I'm like, I guess we had like 10-1860 on the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, let's go. And then that didn't happen, so that's fine. I got my hopes up, and all y'all hopes up for nothing. No, I'm joking. It's so cool. So let's take a look here at ASML, also doing nothing. Guys, what are you looking at? Do you have any spready-ish tickers that are $500-ish that you'd like me to look at? No, I do trade slightly cheaper stuff, but I certainly have a preference. So just let me know if there's anything you're looking at that you think might be of interest. So here's interesting. This is really interesting. Your Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley is not my cup of soup or my cup of tea or what have you in at all the same way that Goldman Sachs is. Goldman Sachs is almost $1,000. We did get stopped out here. Goldman Sachs slipped like about $1, which is fine, so no hard feelings. But what I'm trying to make is here, Goldman Sachs and MS distinctly different from one another. MS trying to push intraday highs again. Now Goldman Sachs did pull back a bit right now, trying to come, I guess, back here and make another push, but this also could have just been a fake out. And that could have been my issue for putting my stop there. So, I mean, if we look at the book, it's not really giving me that. If I see, though, like any kind of, switch to the 1 minute, because I think with these spready tickers, sometimes I like to see what things are kind of ticking at. Yeah, this isn't, right now I wouldn't try the short again, truthfully, unless we get back below that 962.50 area. And I think sometimes we have to think about it less directionally and more like buyers and sellers, right? Like Obi always says this, where would you buy, where would you sell, regardless of if you're in the position or not. And so in this case, whether I was in the position or not, I probably would not be touching this here at Goldman Sachs unless we got either a clear push above that 967 or a clear push below 962.50. So if we're not getting either, then why do I care? And why am I looking at it? That's a good question, and one I can answer with, yeah, I shouldn't be looking at it. So right back here to Eli Lilly. I'm being so boring today, guys. I'm looking at like 3 tickers. But this, again, I think she was trying to fake me out. I think she was trying to be like, no, Adara, I'm going to break above 1021 and go to the movies. And I'm like, but I think you want to break 1830. And I don't want to get too anchored to this, but I'll just have her in my mind, in my heart, and take a look here to see what's happening. EL here, Commodity King, says EL, Estee Lauder. Let's take a look here at Miss Estee. What's the volume on this? This looks like my type of volume. Okay, 1.45 million. I would have guessed a little bit less. That being said, this kind of is a bit of a reversioning look for me because we've got these, like whatever, we bounce off VWAP, we make these slightly higher highs, but look, we start to do a little bit of a swoop. So I wonder if, the foundation of this stock is going to get a little bit, going to be a little bit different. We'd have to do some touch-ups here of this long. I'm trying to make bad makeup puns and it's not working. Let's take a look at the 15 here because that would be my cue. Okay, so the 15 on Estee is vaguely interesting. If we break that 116.9, risk to like, what, 117.20. I'm not used to these $100 stocks. You could risk so much less. I'm always like, oh, risk $5, $6, and Estee Lauder's over here like, hey, girl, you don't have to do that. So it's actually not a bad look. I'll see what happens here. I'll watch it passively, but thank you, Commodity Kings, for letting me know. There was a request also to look at Google, which is not a stock I typically trade a ton of, but certainly not one that I have a beef with. I don't have a beef with any stock, except for Oracle long-term. But let's take a look here at GOO to the G to the L, because this is going to get interesting here. I honestly, this is not the type of thing I have an opinion with. I've been trying to... I've honestly been trying to like avoid these stocks that are kind of in between or in range-bound levels. truthfully right now, 150, yeah. I mean, you've got these lower highs, but you also have higher lows. I would have to wait for either a 332.80 breakdown or a breakout or a 330.70 breakdown. I'm not really interested either way. That being said, I do think Lily's about to come into my level, so I'm going to be hunting her. How are you doing over there, Sheree?
Good, thank you. All right, Brendo, thank you for sending me that. Ford in talks with BYD for hybrid batteries. So apparently Ford is in discussion with Build Your Dreams, yes, that's what the company is called, to supply batteries for its hybrid vehicles, though no deal is certain. The move follows Ford's shift from electric vehicles, as we know, to hybrids, but they are trying their hand at that Li Auto kind of hybrid system. It's not really hybrid, it's just there's an onboard gas engine to charge the batteries, but not propel the engine. It seems to give you a lot better range. I mean, they're talking about some of these BYD cars having about 1,300 kilometers in range. Ford is doing that, I believe, with the new Lightning. I don't know if they're going to call it the Lightning, though, the F-150 Lightning, but thank you for that, Brendo. And I would be very remiss if I didn't shout out my boy Joey frickin' Options, who was watching us right now. Shout out to my man. I had to message this guy yesterday. I'm like, hey, brother, hope you're doing well. Update me. He's like, we're good, brother. We're on the way home. Big success. Couldn't be happier for him. And then he might have another couple of days off. That I don't know if I like, Joey. And this is your boy right here. He's doing it live in the family room, catching me in my most hideous moment, but I do appreciate you, Joey. It's a nice little get-up you got over there, man. It's a nice little setup. Looks like Selena does all the decorating, doesn't she, Joey? Because I know you don't have that kind of taste, my man. I'm just joking. I got to take shots at your boy, but we're doing it live again on another one over here. AUID. Shout out to the OG Bovin giving me his levels on this, which I absolutely agreed with. We're in at 23. We just went the beak at 33. And this one now has broken that downtrend. Recall, it had been putting in that lower high trend ever since making that high, I believe, in the pre at 905, which got to 248. And then we had another area high, I believe, at 227. And now we got into 236. So technically, the high of the day is 236. But here's the deal. I'm giving this to 15s. So we're only going to risk about 8 pennies because 20 is the level that I need this to hold. Oh, I not need it, but you understand what I mean, that I will not hold below. And the reason I say that is, well, take a look at this level over here. We had all sorts of trouble clearing 20, so that to me says it's an obvious area of resistance. And if that's going to be the case, then it should be acting as support. If it doesn't, I'm out. Simple as that, okay? So we're not going to DCA into an oblivion, but here it comes again into the mid-30s. I'm looking for a high day break. We're taking out the high of the freaking day. Let's see if we can get a little bit higher, guys. We're waiting, I believe, at 42s. It is now a 39 penny high on AUID. This one's also a triple-digit winner. We're up 135% on this monster. It's not just the SPHL show or the CJMBB show. By the way, SPHL setting up here. We'll get to that one in a second. I just want to take some more profits on this, and then I'll be able to look away. So SPHL is setting up the way I see it, and let me explain why. Allow me a second over here. I don't know why it's not coming over. All right, here we go. So SPHL, look what this one does. It's a monster, right? I mean, clearly it's moving dollars at a time. 2140 high, right? That's a topping tail candle, followed by a subsequent red candle, which was engulfed, by the way, with the green candle. So not that bad of a look, but is a subsequent candle that really, really does push us down all the way down to 1450. Alas, all three of these candles are bottoming tail candles, and each and every one of them has higher lows. And look where they're finding support. Just take a look. Surprise, surprise, the 10 EMA on the 5. So to me, this means the buyers are starting to control the price action a little bit more. They're not fully in control yet because we haven't put higher highs in, but the buyers are starting to, show their hand a little bit here. And if that's going to be the case, then I need to set up. So what's going to be my move? Am I looking for the breakout trade above prior bar high? In this case, based on the current candle setup, that would be a 1760 break. Well, it's not bad, but we're at 1636 right now. What I could do is base my entry towards the low end of the candle range and put it at prior bar low. Now, thankfully, the prior bar lows are awfully close to one another. So by definition, I wouldn't even have to risk that much. But this one doesn't look like it's going to drop towards the low end of the range, and I might have to take the breakout trade on this, which, again, as I mentioned, is 1760. So I haven't made up my mind quite yet on how I want to enter SPHL, but it's certainly one that I want to get back involved with. But look at CJMB's also setting up, and it's also about, it's going to take out the high of the day again. So CJMB, SPHL, AUID, I mean, you don't even know what to look at. Typically, we don't have that many strong small cap gappers running all at one time. You know, usually they cycle through or none at all. So there's a lot to look at here, and I got to look at the chat as well. Shout out to Fluffy Hippo. Why do you like the 5-minute chart versus the one? That's a great question. It's that old adage. Why look at one time frame over another? I feel like the 5 is, you know, that happy middle between, you know, like the wider time frame, like the 15 that a lot of people like to use, and rightfully so. And then the 1, which I feel has a little bit too much noise. Now, mind you, on my screen here, as I see, you know, if we can show them, on the bottom screen will always be the 5, the bottom chart will always be the 5, and then the top chart will be the 1. So, you know, I do a bit of both, but I'll never really ever have my black charts on the 1, never. So I'm always viewing kind of the same setup. And so it kind of helps you gauge the trend a little bit easier when you're kind of looking at the same time frame. So, I mean, that's just what works for me, but great question. I know a lot of other people have different things. Scott H uses the 3. I know Neil absolutely loves the 3, so that just, it jives with me, right? And whatever you want to use, Fluffsters, is your prerogative as well. I'm sure it's working for you. All right, guys, I mean, AUID, looks like we got stopped out of that, but we're still profitable on it, but it's coming right back into that 230 level, so I might get back in, but it's really SPHL that is showing its hand here. Yet another candle with a higher low, and we don't really have a bottoming tail candle now on the 1140 setup, or 1140 candle, I should say, on the 5, but it's certainly not losing the trend. So SPHL, let's see if we'll give this the old college try. And I'm just going to give it to prior bar low here. I like what I'm seeing from SPHL. I might have to deal with some bamboozlement along the way. What kind of price did we get? We got 23s. Not the best price in the biz, but one that we'll take nonetheless. So what's my move on this? Prior bar low. I have a very small amount of shares, so we're going to have to take bigger wins on this. But that means if it goes against me, I won't be losing as much and stay green on it. Adair, what are you looking at?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, just to also to kind of opine here on the talk about timeframes, I actually think like sometimes switching between them is helpful, and that's certainly what I try to do. Like, I'll look at a 3, I'll look at a 5, I'll look at a 15, a 30, a 4 hour. Like, I want to really get all of the different pictures and different timeframes, provide you with different types of info and different levels of nuance as well. Like I said here, when I was trading Goldman Sachs, which I'm very happy I moved my stop on, I could kind of see it, like on the 3 minute, you can obviously see this consolidation and this bounce, but on the 1 minute too, I think why the 1 minute helped me is you can really clearly see this slightly higher low. And I think the 1 minute also, as someone who reads tape really heavily and certainly has to for the type of stocks that I trade, I think the 1 minute is I think reflects the tape the best, so it's something I do like to use occasionally on these tickers. So just to opine on that, I don't think there's a right answer, much like Sharif said, and I think I would personally advocate for having all of the time frames on watch at all times. I want to talk, I'm in 3 trades now. I think I was in none last time you saw me, so that happened. This could be great, this could be terrible, but either way, guys, it's trade, and we got to take the trade, and we got to see what happens. Let's talk here about ORCL. We'll go from least to most confident in the trade. So ORCL, I liked this because it wasn't, as I said, I heard me earlier, like Adira stopped taking like these lower, like higher low breakdowns, but here's the thing, this is from the most recent low. This is technically a lower low, or at least a breakdown, so I had no issue with that. Risking to just around this level of consolidation. This is so I have a rule here. I am not allowed to take more than 3 tries of a stock in each direction. So I can do 3 longs and 3 shorts a day. If I'm profitable, that's a different story. That doesn't count. But in this case, I've been profitable in none of these. Well, not the first 2. So this is my last try on this. We're like flat on it. I got short 192.40. Next up. Again, I said most level of least to most confident. So here's my second most confident one here, though that order might change. This is EL. So I like the idea here of Estee Lauder, and I do want to shout out Commodity Kings for putting this one on my radar. I'm going to take some out at VWAP, and I realize I might have given VWAP a bit too much room, but the spread on this for like a $100 stock is kind of wide, and I just want to be careful. It's VWAP. I have been known for being a little too frisky around VWAP, so I'm like, you know, let's wet that beak. Do I have that button somewhere? Yes, I do. And just take some profit. Shout out to Sharif there. So that's EL. The one I was the most confident on that I now feel about is Meta. Why do I like Meta here? Why am I long Meta? Adira, you hate longs. A, no, I don't. I'm being facetious. And but I do tend to take them less. But B, like, okay, Meta and 960. or sorry, what is it, 622, Meta and 622. I'm gonna go to like, let's do a 60-minute chart so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. This 622 level on Meta has been just so potent. Like yesterday it was a whole breakdown. If I go to a daily, I'm sure you'll see it as well. The fact that we are trying to do a breakout of 622, yes, please give me more. Like, I just, shout out to Britney Spears. So I'm like, I really, really like the idea of this. I actually risk 2 risk units on this, which might be my downfall. But here's the thing, like, if you're confident in something, you're better off giving it the risk you think it deserves. And then if you're wrong, you can assess why you're wrong later. But I don't think taking chances on stuff that you believe in, that you have multiple points of confidence for, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. In case you're like, hey, multiple points of confidence, 1 top, 2nd top, 3rd top, high or low, clear support here, a place to risk to. You don't have to risk, like, you know, into the middle of nowhere, because sometimes it's hard to, you know the entries, right? But you don't have a rational place to risk. That is not the case here. I do think I have a rational place to risk. So I'm more comfortable taking this trade here on META. Hey guys, can we look at AAOI, please? Says Rucha Shah. Thank you for the $2 super chat. I do not know AAOI. I believe it's a smaller. I've heard of this one. I don't. Yes, $37. What time frame would you like us to look at it? In the 3-minute, I do like this kind of, you know, VWAP hold. Nice little VWAP hold. I like that we, you know, we consolidate here and then we break higher. 3-minute looks pretty good. That being said, this, I wouldn't really know where to enter here, because this, like, we get that all-time high, or not all-time high, intraday high, and then we slam. That's the same reason I shorted Goldman Sachs. So these intraday high slams, I'm never going to be a fan of, regardless of the time frame or the stock. It's just, I would be, oh, and then my chart crashed. I would be a little bit cautious there. But yeah, so that's the look here in AAOI. I'm going to see if I can pull this back up so I can look at the daily, AAOI, and that was on the NQ, I do believe. Looks like we might be able to take some profit here on Estee Lauder, which would be dope. And we're going to go here, if it loads, to the daily chart before I send it back here to Sharif for AAOI for our friend Rucha Shah. Okay, this is a daily guy. I actually really like this guy. So we get these higher low, higher low, higher low, a little bit of consolidation. Now, what I would want to see to be more confident would be a break above, let me get this pointer out. I would like to see a break above 39.40. So that's my look here in AAOI. I hope that is in some helpful way for you. That chat. Was there any news out of the Canada-China visit, Real Gary F? I haven't seen anything, and truthfully, that is not the type of thing that I would really see circulated pretty heavily on X regardless. It's also not something that would necessarily be moving at least the US market, or it wouldn't tend to. If I do see anything, I'll let you know. But I do have to tell you guys, I will 150% be covering the Caroline Levitt talk at 1 p.m. I'm gonna have that right in my ear, because I love press briefings, and I watch them on my spare time at home. It literally is something that entertains me. I'm a weird person. So I'll absolutely be covering that for you guys if there is anything market moving. Just a quick update on my trades. Meta, flat, Oracle, slightly ITM, and EL is ITM, so I'm going to be putting that mascara on with that one. How you doing over here, Sharif?
Oh. Hey, here we go. SPHL has reawoken. Got in at 17, boys and girls, and we're out at 19.05, but it is still trending higher. Here we go again. This current 5-minute candle has a far, far higher low than its predecessor. So I feel like it's a matter of time until we get that decided break and hold. Not just a break and hold above 20. I, of course, am talking about the monster that is up 715%, 710%. SPHL. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. I'm going to get back into AUID, by the way. But Gary, I wanted to talk a little bit about the the Canada-China visit, the state visit by Prime Minister Carney meeting with President Xi today. This was, I'm going to just call a spade, a strategic masterclass by the Chinese on how they're dealing with Canada. So as you guys know, the Chinese are trying to sell their electric vehicles in North America. America won't have it, and Canada won't have it either, because we obviously have a huge auto industry that, you know, employs a lot of people. So the 100% EV tariffs were slapped on by President Biden, kept on by President Trump. It was put on by the previous prime minister, kept on by this prime minister. The only way you can get your Chinese EVs in North America is through Mexico, and I think it's like a 25% tariff or something. It's not 100. The point is, the reason that they put, I skipped an important point there, Gary, which was that the Chinese countered our 100% EV tariffs by putting tariffs on canola. So the province that actually makes a lot of canola and exports it specifically to China, which is their second biggest customer, is Saskatchewan. don't know if you guys are really familiar with the geography and kind of how Canada works, but Saskatchewan's in the west. We have this problem in Canada called Western alienation, where the Western provinces feel like the Eastern provinces, where the capital is, you know, doesn't really take their concerns into account and doesn't really, you know, do things for their best interest, but more for the East. So when the Chinese put the 100%, or sorry, I forget what the tariff was, but they put the tariffs on the canola, they were doing it to hurt, obviously, Saskatchewan's industry. But it was Ontario, where we live, that was benefiting from the 100% EV tariffs, and they don't want to see those off. In fact, the premier, which is like the governor of this province, was basically telling Mark Carney, do everything but remove those tariffs. So why would the Chinese do that? Well, because they're trying to pin us against one another. Because if we remove the EV tariffs or lower them so they can bring down the canola tariffs, well, then that'll piss off the province here, and a lot of jobs will be lost, likely. And so the strategy that the Chinese are employing right now against Canada to get those EV tariffs lower is quite sophisticated. And that's kind of the way I see it. And lots has been made about whether or not, you know, Prime Minister Carney is going to lower the EV tariffs. And if he lowers them, how does that play in with his negotiations with the Americans? Because the Americans don't want those cars here. They don't want them anywhere in North America. And, you know, I don't happen to agree because I feel like the consumer loses out, but there's a lot of people that would probably be out of a job as well. So it's kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So very big visit today by Prime Minister Carney with President Xi. And I couldn't be more, you know, I don't want to say the word excited, but I'm very, very much invested in how this meeting comes out. All right, let's see what we got here. Thank you very much, Amoy Jar, $20 super chat. Jeez Louise, Sharif, my dude, riding SPHL with you saved me from taking a big L on another trade into a big win. Good looking out, brother. Bang, bang right back at you, brother. I hope you print out multiple storms on your side of the screen. Very excited for you to, you know, obviously have a very, very big day. And thank you very much for being kind and sharing the wealth. We do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much, brother. I appreciate that. Gary, I'm tempted to want the car tariffs lowered so long as the cars are made here and by Canadian employees. However, I would be nervous about the response from the U.S. I couldn't agree more, Gary. It's not. They will not be none too plussed about that. I can promise you that, and it's just going to hinder our negotiations with them. And let's cut the crap. Kuzma is up for renewal this year, and I personally think we haven't seen the worst of things yet in terms of tariffs. Because 90% of the trade between our countries is covered by that one agreement, the revamped NAFTA, so to speak, the Kuzma. And so, you know, all the tariffs that we've been complaining about so far for this year and at a bit now have been on about 10%. Imagine the 90. So I think that there's more on that story. Oh boy, Wayne Griffin dropping 30 in the chat. First of all, thank you very much, Wayne. I appreciate there. And he says as follows: do you set your stop loss as a percentage of your total capital? If so, what percentage do you use? Or do you use 10 cents or 20 cents? Do you use, okay, so I don't do either of those. I put my stops at key areas of resistance and support. So for example, let's go over here to the, what's it called? The CJMBB trade. No, the AUID is probably a little bit better. Why did I put my stop below 20? Well, I perceive 20 as a former area of resistance, okay? And it was also kind of the middle ground of the double bottom. Let me show you on the black chart. It's a little bit easier to show, okay? So here's what I'm talking about, AUID. So kind of like a double bottom shape. We come back in, we put in some higher lows, but there's this area crest in the middle that we end up breaching. Well, to me, most of the time, not all the time, this area crest over here, once cleared and cleared decisively, will typically act as support. So I say to myself, all right, we got to 239, we cleared 220 by 19 pennies, almost 20. I'll put my stop a little bit below that 20 penny level. So I'm not typically using a percentage of my daily shutdown, a percentage of my position ATR. I know a lot of people use average true range to base their stops. I don't do any of that. I base it on key areas of support or resistance. If I see an area, a floor, for example, like look at this over here, from 1045 on AUID to about 1115, we certainly had buyers at $1.90, right? So to me, I know buyers are stepping in at $1.90. If they're not gonna be stepping in anymore, then I don't have the buying power to keep this above $1.90. I'm out, right? I'm a market observer, not a market mover. So to me, it's always support and resistance based. I don't know about how anybody else trades or how everybody else kind of sets up, but that's the way I do it. Thank you, Wayne, for that. I do appreciate it. Do you want to answer that? Do you want to give your opinion on how you set up stops?
I absolutely would love to. So I think, like much like Sharif said, it's going to be key levels of support, resistance. But here's the other thing that you said that I actually really want to talk on as well, of your total capital. So I'm not going to use it based on my total capital. That being said, like how much I risk and what percentage of my capital I risk, or whatever, what percentage of my daily risk, that's gonna depend on how much I have to risk for the trade, as I kind of mentioned earlier, right? So for example, for this META, I had to risk about $1, so that I have a certain, set amount of risk that I try to use per trade. So I'm like, okay, with that in mind, how many shares can I take with this stop of it being $1? You kind of have to do the math in your head, right? And then furthermore, I doubled the size on this. So then it's like, okay, with that in mind, how much of that then do you use to double it? Factoring in, of course, like spread and everything like that, right? So that's kind of how I come to that. It's kind of a very complex equation. You have to mental math, and sometimes I mental math it wrong, and that's how you end up risking too much on a trade or not enough on a trade. So there's always like factors to it, but yeah, I think like understanding how much you want to risk per trade and then deciding basically, is that worth it for this particular opportunity? That's how I A, decide my stops, but B, decide if it's even worth it to try a trade in the first place. That brings us to META, because meta is happening. So yeah, there was a while here where I actually thought this would kind of like, break on us, and I was like, well, that'll suck, but whatever, I'm happy I tried the trade. I took out a sliver, like just over 10% of the position here, just because I did not like what I was seeing on the tape around 623, and I stand by that. Sometimes you have to skim a little bit off so that you're comfortable staying in the trade. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, though, especially how little I took off here. Though, I do want to be aware of it, and I don't want to do it too frequently, but either way here, that's what's happening with META. I'm taking off another roughly 10% here if we get to 624, just because that's a level I like here on the 30-minute. That being said, other than that, I don't have any levels for this. I'm going to have, again, just around 65 to 80% of the position left here. I'm kind of mathing because it was like an odd number of shares. Either way, I'll have a lot if we decide to break to like 626, 628. 628 is the key level of resistance. That's going to be, the white whale area that I'd like to target for profit. But that's the deal here with Meta. We're also still in our other two trades, so let's talk about it. Estee Lauder is, okay, nice. It should not be that exciting. This is like 40 cents. It's not that big of a deal. But I'm happy because I got some profit off of VWAP. That's roughly half the position. I should be moving my stop to around that 116.80 level, and I probably will, but I want to finish yapping first about my other positions. Oracle, also in Limone, but less so, and again, not super exciting. Like I said, this is my last straw here for ORCL based on my rules. If I take another failed short, I cannot short this for the rest of the day, though I can still take longs if I want to take a long. But yeah, like if I take too many pops at a stock, sometimes I think it's better to just like avoid it, because then you might just be like, I don't even mean revenge trade, but I think you might just like want to see things that aren't there, because you're going a little loopy. And I don't, because I think to me, I think psychologically speaking, the word revenge trade is different from like tilt, because I think tilt is a lot less intentional. Tilt, you don't realize you're in until after, and then you're just looking at yourself from the outside like you're trapped in a glass, like what am I doing, right? Weirdly psychological and deep, but that's how I feel like tilt is. With revenge, I think it's a lot more intentional. You're like, I need to win because I lost on this trade. So I think it's just important to be aware of this either way, but I think you're a lot more susceptible to tilt if you have already lost something a whole bunch of times and you're like, well, I can't short anymore, maybe I can go long. Like, maybe don't. But yeah, me talking to myself anyway, not trying to tell anybody else what to do here. But so that's my take here at ORCL. Goldman Sachs is stay gold, pony boy. Yeah, so there's a slightly lower high here. I actually think this will break day's high again, but I don't want to go long because I also am not in love with this setup as a long. So what do I do there? I don't have to do anything. I can just watch it and say, hi, what's happening? Much like my friend Eli Lilly, I kept yapping about, oh, we're going to break 118.30, and we never did, and we waffled, so I don't know her anything. I don't have to trade her. And I think that's really important. You can have a stock on watch. You can think, oh my God, this is my top opportunity of the day. It's going to look so good. And then it happens, and it just like, it doesn't give you anything, and you you're not beholden to it just because you wrote it down. So that's my take there on our good friend LLY. How are you guys doing in the chat? Hope everyone's doing well. One last thing too with the stop convo with Wayne Griffin. You can move your stop sometimes too, and I think much like I was just saying, what like Sharif is saying too, even if you move your stop, it's gonna have to do with these levels. So just think about key levels of support and resistance when you're setting and moving your stops.
All right, guys, working my way back into AUID, but I'm very much fixated on SPHL because it's putting in the compression pattern here that you love to see. It's got lower highs, excuse me, but higher lows. So, you know, it feels like it's going to resolve in the direction of the trend. It's a great looking bull flag. I'm just going to do this one thing over here. Assassino, let me know when all right, guys, I got to tell you something. Concussions demand fast solutions. New York Stock Exchange listed Origenics, trading on the NYSE under ticker OGEN, is developing one designed to reach the brain quickly and non-invasively. You need to learn more by scheduling a meeting today. Shout out to the great folks at Origenics, OGEN, baby. All right, so I'm very much keeping an eye here on SPHL. It's got a whole bunch of higher lows. I am sorry, guys. I see, what is this whistle? I don't know what the whistle is. I have no idea.
The bell for lunch.
Oh, that's the bell, Fluffsters. That's the lunch lady. She hits the bell and lets everybody know that it's time to eat, so the feed-in can begin. So that's what that is. All right, keeping an eye here on SPLH. I want to just base my trade here. Well, here's what I'm trying to show you guys. So this is what I'm seeing on the side chart. So see how we have higher lows, but we also have markedly lower highs. This is what's catching my attention, right? I don't want to be quick to jump into this because, well, it's not breaking out through the lower highs yet, right? And so, you know, this thing's moving dollars at a time. For me, I'd like to catch it towards the lower end of the range. Now that I'm focusing on it, I'm going to be looking possibly here into the 10 EMA, but every time it dips down a little bit, it's being met aggressively with buying. So about, I want to say, $17. I probably, you know, 17 teens as well, maybe even the 20s. Money fills for me here if it continues to trend in this way. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pack my patience or take a breakout trade. A breakout trade, for example, above this area crest at 1950. Also, I need to bring your attention to this one. CGTL, another compression pattern with a flat top break through 4. I mean, you got a whole bunch of wicks, sure, through 4, but no closing prints. You are getting the closing prints, and you're getting them in frickin' spades. 483 high, trading at 440 right now. It's up 77%. This is a small cap gapper world, and we're all just living in it. And quite frankly, I'm not surprised a bit by the fact that the small cap gappers are really running today. The Russell 2000, the IWM is up 1 1/5. The best other one right now is the Q up 1.15. So the Russ is leading the way. So the fact that these small cap gappers are moving is of no surprise. CGTL, the latest candidate here for a triple digit winner, alas, it's still up about 78%, not quite in the range of triple digits, but one to keep an eye out at as well. A little bit lower volume, I should say, for this bad boy. Now, I just caught my first L of the day, which is AUID. We got stopped out. This one broke trend, and it seems like it is holding 2. So if it's going to hold 2, then I'm going to base my trade now off 2 because I want to take AUID. I think we're going to get above 250. The higher lows here are, I think, what is getting my attention. So AUID, we want to set up a little bit at 2. Are we still on the AUID screen? The answer to that is no. We're at 7s. We're going to enter here with small share size, and we're going to see where this one takes us. 198 is going to be the out. We'll have to see exactly whether that holds up. Now, here's the deal. AUID catches a bid, we're going to add because we got into a small position, right? We're 0 for 1 on, well, we're not 0 for 1. We're actually profitable on it, I should say, excuse me, but I did get stopped out for the remaining amount. So I did get, I did lose money on this, on that last trade. So that's the way that works. Keeping an eye on that one. Now, obviously, keeping my eye as well on SPHL. Don't think it's quite set up quite yet. Here comes the 17 low digits, though. And this is what I was talking about earlier, that I want to catch some money fills, maybe 17 1/4. Let's go ahead and put a resting order right there at 17.25 and see what comes. Buyer at 45, that's very clear. Can't shake the buyer at 45. Okay, now we're dipping down into 32. What's the deal here? We're dropping back down. Now we got the fill. If it loses 17, I'm out. Simple as that. Well, prior bar low. Prior bar low, 16.69. So we have 25s on right now. Let's see if we can wet the beak here, possibly in the mid 40s. And then we'll take a little bit higher as well in the 60s. Let's see if we can get any of those. There's a first profit taker in the mid 40s. Let's go ahead and wait a little bit north of that at 88s and see what we can make of this one. Give me a sec here just to load up. SPHL. I'll take that one off. Take that one off, please. There we go. Good. All right, so we have 25s there. We're going to go ahead and wait. I think there we go. Nicely into the 60s. Let's go ahead and see if we can get something at 88s. 69 showing up on the bid. We're in at 25. Let's see if we can pump back up, hold the prior bar low, and possibly take out even prior bar high. Here, there it is, and there's the fill into 88. Nice. Okay, so we're $1 in the, well, oh, not quite yet. We're almost $1 in the money. Just flashed 18s there super quick. So we're going to keep an eye out on this one and see if we can get a little bit more. But it's a scalper's world right now on SPHL because it is compressing. So I'm just trying to pick up the bottom end of the range, sell at the top end of the range until we get a breakout. Until a very decisive breakout, I would say above 19. If it can hold above 19, that would be great. Even better if it clears 20, and then we're looking at that 2140 high. So that's my look there. ROLR has re-entered the chat, and Tampanda saying the same thing. So Yannick and Tampanda both reiterating that. So who are we going to take off here? We're going to take off TI. Sorry, brother. ROLR, here we go. Okay, so what are we doing here on roller, guys? We're up 37%, 26 and change. Why isn't this thing updating? 26.38, is that the price? Yeah, that is the price. Okay, so I gotta tell you, I don't know. I think there's better, guys. There's better looking charts on the day. I'm not disparaging roller, it's up 40%, it's a respectful amount. But yeah, clearly a 29 seller here, and there has been for a hot minute. Take a look at this, 950, 29.04 high. This latest candle here at 12 o'clock, $29 high. So it's a lower high. Now we're trading at around 26.75. Look, roller stays on the side chart. Given what roller did yesterday and what we know roller can do, it's definitely going to warrant staying on the side chart. But I just think that there's better trades on the day, guys. So, you know, let's not insist on trading a name just for the sake of trading it. There's others we can keep an eye on. Oh, wow, roller just dropped into 25.30. So this thing's moving all sorts of crazy. Boom on MLEC, says the Bovin. Let's take a look at MEC for the OG Bovin. MLEC, excuse me, MLEC. All right, we're just loading up the side chart here, pardon me. What do we got here, Bovin? Okay, so up 192%. What's with the triple digit winners today? Jeez Louise. I think KC526, all right. So this one has to go on the side chart as well. Sorry, roller. We're gonna have to take you off. It's not your day, baby. It's MLEC's day. This thing is halted up at $10.34. It is up 194%. Guys, I'm telling you, I've been trading these small caps now for like a year and a half every single day, and you know, you don't see too many days like this when there's multiple triple-digit winners, SPHL, CJMBB, we got AUID, MLEC. We don't even know what to look at anymore, right? And there's some on the precipice of taking out triple digits like CGTL and some others. So, yeah, select one and trade it carefully, guys. I'm going to keep my eye here on AUID. This is a bit of a slower trade. It'll keep me interested here, and we'll be able to do something on it. What are you looking at, Adara? Yeah,
what I'm looking at here, I just want to say I really agree with what you're trying to say here, Sharif, in terms of like picking tickers. Like I said that kind of earlier today too, right? You don't want to emphasize, like just because something's on watch doesn't mean you should feel at all obligated to trade it, right? So if it's not good, there should be other opportunities. With that in mind, I do want to take a look at SNDK for Pedra in the chat, who asked me if we could look at it. I have traded SNDK before, though not, I don't think this week. And I traded a couple times last week to pretty good effect. But this 493.40, this is interesting because it's kind of a double top, but the second high is a little bit higher than the first. And then we kind of drop, but not in a super like interesting way. It's almost kind of similar to what Goldman Sachs did, but I think the Goldman Sachs setup was a bit better. Yeah, we're going to make yours SNDK. I'm going to be honest with you, Pedro. There's not a lot to get involved in right now. Only thing I could kind of maybe see, and I want to clarify this is not advice because I don't know how this is going to end up setting up if and when it happens, but that 420.30 area, we wicked this a couple times. We actually really compellingly, you know, topping tail wicked it, and we couldn't get above it. If we can get above that for 2030, that might be a change in the tide, but even then, if we get above that level, that could just be SanDisk trying to trick you, right? So I would certainly be careful there because, you know, SanDisk has pretty good memory. And so, you know, you want to make sure you remember how you're trading that and trading it appropriately. Wow, that was a bad pun. But thank you very much to Pedro for asking me about that one. Hello, Casey in the chat. Hello, everybody in the chat. Guys, if you have questions for me, tag me in the chat. Let me know what you're looking at. Let me know what you want to see. Also, I do see and get a kick out of all of your comments on my level of energy. But guys, only thing I'm on here is life and excitement and meta. This is the importance of if something sets up, you should take it with size and aggression. That's what I did here. And I was like, oh, I took too much size on this. No, I didn't. And the thing is, that's my brain, you know, the part of me that feels fear, unfortunately, that was thinking that. But my trader brain kind of, thank goodness, took the wheel there and tried to, you know, drive us out of the lane and was like, Adara, this 622 breakout is really compelling. In fact, in retrospect, I probably should have taken more size on this because, again, you had confluence, you had a triple top, you had a clear bull flag-esque pattern trying to break out, and you had that 622 level, which I have been yapping about ad nauseum, mostly in my own head, for a very long time. So it's like when you have that much confluence, you are doing yourself a disservice if you do not take that trade with appropriate size. That being said, I don't like what Meta is doing here with that false breakout of that 623 60s area. As you can see, I do have a profit taker around just before 624 that we did not get hit. But interesting look for this. I do want to just address this question from Bazos Games. How do you decide how much capital to go for each trade? Level of conviction? Yeah, 100% is level of conviction. So if I feel really good about something, I'm going to want to risk a little bit more because then if it does well, you know what I mean? I want to make that clear to you. You don't want to do it, risk more just because you want to make more money. But the thinking of it is, if you feel really good about the idea is it will go very well. And as such, that idea deserves more capital. If you feel a little bit more wishy-washy or something, I'll just use a base size. So a really good example here is Eli Lilly. I mentioned this reversion, it didn't work, whatever. But I use like minimum size on this because I was, and the 5 minute I think is a bit clearer. But I was like, you know, this might not work, and I don't think it's worth any more of my capital, but I think it's worth a try just based on what I was seeing in the book. It didn't work out, and that's fine because I use minimum size. But if I decided that this was worth like a whole bunch of size, that would be a poor judgment, right? That's something for me to reflect on. That being said, again, with Meta, the fact that there was, I think, so much, at least from what I was looking at, confluence, shout out to our friend Obi, I really liked it there, so I had to take that breakout, and that's kind of, I hope that explains a little bit how I distribute size. Johnny is just trading. Do you have an opinion on what will happen with TSM this month? Going on to next month, I feel like it is due for a pullback, and with many reasons when I use my calendar. So here's my thing. I don't like to assume what a stock is going to do because I don't have the crystal ball. What I will say is just watch the price action. If you feel like you want to take profit, I mean, we're at all-time highs, I believe, so I would just use your own judgment, use your own risk management principles, and be smart and be careful, as we always say. But I think we have maybe a message over here. I'm not sure. How are you doing over there, Sharif?
Pretty good, Adara. Thank you. Guys, let me ask you this. If someone handed you $1.25 million to trade, would you process change or just your upside? That's the opportunity Funded Futures Network provides. They're a futures prop firm that gives traders access to large SIM and live funded accounts every single day. They've already paid millions to traders around the world with fast, same-day and daily payouts. And right now, evaluation accounts are 50% off. Buy one, get one free, and no activation fees. And you can find the link below or scan that great-looking QR code on the screen. Shout out to the Funded Futures Network. Good luck for them. Guys, it is MLEC's world now, and we're all just participating in it. Here we go again. This thing is rocketing up. Shout out to the OG Bovin. 1232 high. 1218 is now showing up on the tape. Big move up. And quite frankly, it's not really filling the gaps, the halt gaps. Those usually get filled, and they get filled pretty quick. And then they, and then it moves along its merry way. This is atypical, okay, for these small cap gappers. Usually these intraday gaps will get filled momentarily, even if they're on a wick basis, and spend very little time there. But it's one, it's two, and this one, yeah, kind of filled a little bit, almost three. gaps there, and those are all halt gaps. And here it goes again. 1244 high, it's up 250%, 1257 high. I'm gonna probably keep correcting myself. This looks like a halt parameter here coming up at 57s. Let's have a look. It is, if we stay 10 seconds in this way, it will halt. MLEC's the ticker up 256.3 to, and there it is. We're halted on MLEC to the high side. The tap, we're gonna be able to see the tap here, 250. 1195 now, so dipping down. I'll report to you guys a little bit closer to the open time, which will be at earliest 12:19:06. So halt time, 12:14:06, a little trick, the way I always do this. I'm sure you guys can do it as well. You look at the last entry on the time and sales, and then you just add 5 minutes on top of that, okay? Now, it might not be 5, it might be waves of 10, so you're gonna have to be ready for whatever comes here. But MLEC, all sorts of strong, especially now that SPHL is starting to show signs of weakness, okay? Let me make my case to you guys here. So look at this unbroken higher low, symphony of higher lows. And then, not only are we trading below the 10 EMA for the first time, I want to say, basically since reclaiming it at 1010, but we substantially broke that trend line, and we're trading below it now. So SPHL, for the mean reversion traders, for small cap gappers, I mean, I personally don't do it, but this could be setting up. Now, there's a lot of levels along the way that you could find support at. 15 stands out immediately to me, even 16 as well. 16's been a very key level where the wicks seem to defend at times, but it's the break of this trend line here, so I'll have nothing to do with SPHL unless I see more and I see better. Yeah, that's that point. Second point, CJMB looks like it's right back at that key area breakout that we talked about. Recall, $4 to $4.25. That was the buy zone on CJMB. That is the buy zone, not was. That was the resistance level. This is an ascending wedge breakout. We come back in. Lo and behold, we're holding 4, but it's a buy zone based upon the closing prints and the wicks. So CJMB could be a good hold here. I would place my stop through this candle low. I'm talking about the 12 o'clock candle, the low of which is 395 on the dot. But personally, I would like to see a trend change before I commit any money. And what does that mean? Well, it typically means some higher lows, maybe not higher highs right away, but then you get that curling, that rounding shape as a result of the higher lows. And then the rounding shape really manifests itself once you get those higher highs, and then you get the confirmation. So by definition, you're gonna have a worse price because you're not gonna be getting in at the bottom. But to me, that's worth a trade, okay? So I'm certainly looking at CJMB for another long, take it back possibly into that 561. So that's what I'm looking at there. Also, I wanna mention IBRX, not a big mover on the day, especially only up 25%. We're talking about all these triple-digit winners with SPHL knocking on the door of 800 at one point. But IBRX has been slow monster over here. You get a 3, where did it reclaim the 10? It reclaimed VWAP and the 10, I want to say at around 333, up to 379. But look, very little in the way of bamboozlement. Even the 4-candle pullback over here clearly holds up at the 10, and then you get a monster green candle subsequent at 12:05 to kind of confirm, yes, that was a doji candle. Yes, that was a candle of a reversal candle, and up into the high of the day, we go at 379. So IBRX here, not a bad looker. It's not a monster. So if you're looking for monsters, you need to look at MLEC, CJMB, SPHL, and that gang. So keeping an eye there. I'm still in AUID because it's a much slower mover. I like the bottoming tail candles here into that $2 area and some higher lows. Alas, I know we're gonna encounter resistance at 220 and 2.25 if we make it up there, but I'm building my position slowly, and this one is putting in some higher lows as well. So I don't feel all that bad about being a penny or two out of the money on this one, but I'm certainly looking at working back into CJMB. Melanin particles, shout out to melanin particles. What do you think about hood here? Let's have a look. Hood I haven't looked at in a hot minute.
Yeah, me neither. I always forget this company exists.
All right, well, not a good look today for it, certainly. The hooded one is Why is an update on my gang platform? 3% in negative territory here. Okay, so the closing print on the hood. Let's do a little TA. Looks like it was 119 2/3. Clearly selling off. Had basically a very, very indecisive day for it by its standards. I mean, it was a little negative, obviously, relative to where it closed on Tuesday. Wednesday, a bit of an inside day. Today, we lose yesterday's low. Yesterday's low was 116.5, a little bit higher. And now we have a 115.25 low on hood. So, look. It was a monster last year, though. I mean, we got to pull back a little bit. This looks like an ABCD pattern, possibly a wave 4, probably a wave 4, which will be a longer prolonged pullback. If we're talking about Elliott waves, guys, a more prolonged pullback. This looks like a wave 2 to me over here, and then that's the wave 3. Wave 3, as we know, the biggest, the baddest of the waves, and then this looks like a more prolonged pullback, which is fine, right? It's got to work its way into its valuation. Can't just go up in a straight line, right? So I like Hood. I like what they have to offer, but I know that they were up monstrous last year, so it might be a little bit of a kind of a consolidation phase, let it work into its valuation, and then it moves along its merry way, especially if he has new product announcements. And I want to see some more data in their earnings about how the prediction markets are doing. What are they going to do about tokenization? We've been talking a lot about that. That could be quite accretive to expanding their TAM, their total addressable market, as new products usually bring on new users. Also, keep an eye out on their wealth management. We've been joking a lot about this, calling them, the JPM of the millennial and the Gen Z generation, right? Where we don't have too much money like the boomers and Gen X, and so we're gonna have to find somebody that talks our language that will do the wealth management. So we'll keep an eye out on that. It could be quite expanding for their total addressable market, but that's a different story. MLEC is halted down, I'm being told. Absolutely accurate. 1296 high. It is coming down, bleeding its own blood right now. Halted down, 1075. Halt time, Assassino, 12:19:31. The earliest it'll be open is 12:24:31. Adair.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to take a moment here to thank our friends at PDSB, PDS Biotechnology, trading on the Nasdaq, as PDSB is transforming how the immune system targets and fights cancer, with initial focus on HPV-16 positive head and neck cancer. HPV-16 can cause head and neck cancer, and more people are facing these high-risk cancers than ever before. HPV-16 positive head and neck cancers are projected to become, the most positive type of head and neck cancer, the most common type of head and neck cancer in the US in a few years. Learn more at, and write this down, guys, https://www.pdsbiotech.com, and then you're gonna have one more slash. So thank you very much here. You could also just look them up there as well on the thing if the slashes and the www dots were too much, but thank you very much to our friends at PDS Biotech. And I wanna mention here, speaking of health, sort of tangentially, we had someone in the chat, I believe it was S. Murph. Why is no one talking about UNH? Let's take a look here at UNH. While I pull it up, Grant, I did not say the entire URL is a troll. That is how it is, and so I'm going to say it to help people find it. So, not a troll. Okay, this is nice here on UNH, but honestly, I'm going to be real with you, S. Murph. I think the reason maybe no one's talking about it is because we're really hard to get in here. Like, there's just so much, like, chip chop, chip chop, chip chop. The best entry for this is if you are a very lucky person who got into that 332 breakout. That's beautiful. You have risk to what, like VWAP 331. That's amazing, actually. And then this gives you like 6 now, almost 7 points. So that to me is like the best case scenario for getting into UNH. I think maybe the reason no one's talking about it is because I think other than that, there's not really a lot that's compelling here for that entry, at least just in my opinion, for now anyway, right? Let me see here. What are we doing on the 15? Because right now, like sometimes when things are up, I like to look for reversions. I don't have any cause for a reversion right now. Actually, if anything in the 15, this looks like it could break out further. But, well, actually, you know what? Okay, I still stand by, this isn't terribly exciting, but that 338 level was resistance yesterday. So if we break out 338 today, I don't hate it. That being said, do I love it? That would also be a no. I got stopped out of Meta. It happened. It's fine. Stopped out for profit. Again, that should not matter. What happened was I was realizing this area was gonna be pretty key here, that 622.50. I gave it a bit of room. I still got like slipped like 6-7 cents. That was not intentional. From that good one, Sharif there. So I got stopped out like again just under 10 cents, more or less, from where, or slipped more about 10 cents from where my stop was, which is fine. We could be bottom wick and this could go higher again, but I don't really want to get back in just to get back in because I feel slighted by the stock. Like the stock doesn't have feelings and it doesn't care what mine are. So why should I? That being said, one area where I would get long again potentially is if we get back above that 623, because we are really struggling to hold back onto 623. Like I'm happy, you know, I took a tiny piece here. It is what it is. The point is I took the trade that I believe deserved to be taken, and that's all that should matter, and that's all that does matter, with that being said. Yeah, I think maybe getting back in long on Meta, but I don't want to force it, and especially with the way this book's looking right now, I have no reason to. I want to talk here, though, about EL, because I am still in Estee Lauder, and I actually added to Estee Lauder. Now, you might be like, Adara, your ad is lower than where you took profit. What are you doing, girl? So I mentioned this last week as well when I was on the Midday, and I'm very privileged and lucky to be able to be visiting you guys already 3 times in the new year, so that's pretty fun. But no, so I have no problem adding where I've actually taken profit before. Even, yeah, like your average is gonna be a little tarnished, but here's the thing, I don't care because my taking is, and once again, regardless of direction, as Obi says a lot, it should be about buying and selling. Where are the buyers, where are the sellers? So there was clearly some kind of selling here right around VWAP. This is an interesting area to me. So if the area is interesting, it shouldn't matter what direction or if, you know, I'm taking profit or if I'm adding. If the area is of interest, the area should still be of interest. So I like this here on EL. I moved my stop a little bit here just to get into some of these consolidation areas, but right now I'm straight chilling like a straight villain here on Estee Lauder. And Sharif, I have to be honest here, our good friend, the dead one, Apple, keeps trying to whisper to me. Like Tim Cook is like, come over here, Dar. All right, never mind. I pulled the chart up on my big screen and I hate it again. This is so choppy. I only liked it because on my side chart, it was very zoomed and all I could see was this little like consolidation, like what, this 560 low, or sorry, I'm talking like this is an expensive stock. That, 260 low and that 260.30 high, that is vaguely appealing to the point where I will actually put up my book here and look at it. So that would be the one trade I would take here, potentially. But that being said, like I said, when I zoom in, this chart is so ugly that I'm like, do I really want to get involved in what could just be more chop? That's a potential entry here in AAPL, but nothing that I'm going to be clamoring over. And I don't think I mentioned this, though I did put it in the chat. I said goodbye to Oracle, guys. I'm not allowed to trade any more Oracle shorts today because of my rules. We got stopped out. I'm not losing any sleep or crying over this. I will have to reflect, especially on the stop placement of this first trade and the logic of entering the second time. Third time, I think it was completely fair. Just didn't work out. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a great time. Please tag us in the chat if there's anything you want to look at. How are you doing over here?
SPHL is in full reversion mode, so the break of the trend line really was what I thought it was. And you know, again, I'm not going to change the way I trade. I'm not going to go short these small cap gappers, but that doesn't mean I can't observe when a trend is breaking. This is really kind of where I saw it give way. And there it is right there. A compression pattern. Typically these compression patterns, not always, resolve in the direction of the trend. Clearly the trend was to the high side, but hey, that's what intraday trading is all about. We always talk about these chart patterns being fractal. They work on the 15, they work on the hour, they work on the daily. However, as I always say, the lower on the time frame you go, the higher the failure rate is for these chart patterns, and that's what we're getting right here. Oh, all right, sounds good. I appreciate that. All right, so we're gonna have Ob coming in because Adara is gonna set up for an interview that we have coming up momentarily. So it'll be Ob and I just for a little bit here on the midday, but we'll be Ob and I again tomorrow. So here's the deal. SPHL looks like it's on its way to a couple of levels. Number one, $12, clear breakout level there. It's a zone. The closing prints on the 750 and the 755 candle close at 11, wick up to 12. So that's a zone here that it could find support at. It's already lost 14. It's already lost 16. Those were key levels. That's why I'm mentioning them. So 12 to 11, another key level, and then another key level for, again, buy zones or for people who are looking to take profits on their short. $9. $9 clearly is the volume weighted average price. And we spent quite a bit of time there at $9 as well. Recall that we had that period of consolidation from 10 till about 10:45, and then we got the big boy breakout. And then this one is starting to look back a little bit. So SPHL on the way down, not a good look for the longs there. However, MLEC, also doing it live, doing it big on the day, 220%. This one will be, though, at least a 10-minute halt. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the trading screen for that one. MLEC, so we got the top there showing 10.22. Oh boy, the blood is in the street. Why? Because the halt level is 11.31. So we're already slated to open up $1.20, $1.10-ish lower than where we closed out. So that's trouble. Now, here's the deal. 12:19:31, that is the halt time. What is it currently? It is 12:19:11. If this is gonna be a 10-minute halt, then we are gonna open in exactly 15 seconds. Keeping an eye on this one. Am I gonna wet the beak? Okay, I wet the beak here on AUID. Just give me a second, Assassino. Let's see what this one opens up at, because we may open up here in 3, 2, 1. There it is. It is bleeding still into 9. This one is really dropping. 909 limit down. 909 limit down on this one. I do believe we actually wicked that limit down, and there it is. We are now in the halt parameter, limit down, 909. We need to be at this for about another 7-6 seconds or so, and then it's gonna halt down again. So MLEC is giving it up and giving it up in a hurry, and there it is, halted down again. So we've got, what's it called? SPHL bleeding its own blood, and now MLEC is at the volume weighted average price. Assassino, I'm so sorry, what do we have to do? Oh, Obi's ready, fantastic. Yes, so your boy Obi, he is the one. How's
the trading going? I haven't really been listening to what you've been doing. I've had my headphones on.
No worries.
Dude, I went to the barber.
Okay.
I was like, okay, there's a slight probability where he might not be in, right?
Yeah, makes sense given the weather.
I didn't have any cash on me. He's cash only, so I go to the bank. And
you go to the one down here then. I know exactly where you go.
There's a RBC at the Raba.
Oh, okay.
There's an ATM machine. So I'm like, I'm not walking all the way to the RBC, around the corner, but there's one just down the road. So I go to the ATM there, and it's a 5-minute walk. I'm like, it might as well worth a try. Go in. Every single store on the way there, on the left, is open.
Except him.
Except for them. There's only 2 guys that normally work there. So I was just like, hair's getting a little long for my liking. So I was like, yeah, might as well get one today. Not really doing too much, but maybe tomorrow will be better. But that was a bit of a miss.
All right. Well, is it stopped snowing though?
No, it's still snowing.
It's still coming down.
Still snowing. The trucks are out there. The trucks are out there. So that's good. They're making their rounds as well. And I'm looking for this market to make its rounds back to the downside as well.
Can I show you something?
Yeah,
because I think this is right down your wheelhouse, and I think that you would have printed monsters on this. Look at this SPHL compression pattern, higher lows, holding the 10 EMA beautifully like a glove. And then look at the breakdown and the signal right there. Like this is this not mean reversion? This is not mean reversion. Like if you were to enter this what would you be looking for? Take me through your style here as to if you were entering a mean reversion trade on SPHL, what would be your criteria?
All right, SPHL, and
yes,
that
sir.
is on the
Nasdaq.
Nasdaq. Okay,
sir.
Cool. I can't really. I don't know why there it is. There's my mouse. I was looking for my mouse on my main screen. I was like, all right, well, we kind of missed that on the screen, but yeah, SPHL. Okay. All right, let's take a quick look at this one here. Okay, now I'm missing. Okay. We'll figure that out. I'll just use this chart here. Okay. So I like this. I was actually watching this one, Sharif, this morning because it did show up on my relative volume scanners. Beautiful, beautiful breakdown that's happening right now. It was halting up multiple times as well, right? I have a question for you. When was the first halt down?
Halt down.
Was it this guy right here?
Yes.
Right.
Give me 1 sec just to confirm with you. You want to know something?
Yes, sir.
We haven't halted down on SPHL yet.
Not once.
Not once.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
But we did have a halt up here, a halt up there, and then we kind of started to slow down. So I'm either looking for the first, if we've only been halting up, I'm either looking for the first halt down, which is distinctly different behavior, right? I don't want to get involved right away, but that will signify, okay, now we're doing something a little different. But you can see this trend break here as well. We broke out pre-market session highs. That was absolutely beautiful, 1235. So if you're taking the breakout on that, that's looking solid. So how I like to think about this is like a lot of the players that are participating in these small caps, they're short-term participants.
Yep.
Right? So when they're short-term participants, they're probably going to get out intraday at some point. And if the longs have been winning, I'm looking for any sort of action from the long side to be distinctly different.
Okay.
So the first time we take any sort of a significant pullback was this right here,
right.
after 11:20. Right? After 11:20, we take a bit of a pullback. I don't know if I want to get involved. Maybe I'm taking a shot here, risking to the high. Okay. Guess what? If I did that, still hasn't been stopped out, even on the second pop. But I want to see some confirmation. This could pull back, and the buyers can step right back in. But I like the structure breaks on this. Take a look at this 16. That's on the right side of the move. Sure, you can get a little cheeky with it. You can be like, I'm going to get some in here, risk to the highs, maybe get some more in here, pyramid in. That would mean I'm trailing my stop to this lower high now, and then this, maybe get some in here. But this is the money spot, in my opinion, where that is the real structure break. There's probably longs that are like, oh, we're going in for the second leg, that are risking to here, that are risking to here, right? The last halt up was at, what, 11:03, and that reference price is at 1530s. We've gone below that reference price. So any and everybody who's gotten long past this point is now out of the money. So I like this 16 level, and I also like this 15 level as well. But you gotta be sitting there. You gotta be watching this really come in, and then see that it is distinctly different from before. Sellers are more dominant now. It is not halting up anymore. This is the first sign of a pullback. I don't know if you really want to use market confluence, because these things do a thing. They kind of work on their own. They kind of do their own thing. But it's more scalpy in nature in terms of how I want to tackle this. Right. So I'm taking the 16 breakdown, comes into 14, taking some off as soon as it slows down, maybe watching this 1530 now for potential reload. If it can get past this, then I'm like, okay, well, if anybody bagged this from here, they're kind of back on. They might be willing to hold this for a stronger push, and then maybe taking this 13 structure here as well. That's the more recent low. We're seeing it come back into 15 right now. So I only see one real spot where I can actually take some size for a quick scalp, and it gave you $2, right? I'm not taking this short here and being like, all right, now we're going to VWAP. If I'm looking for VWAP, maybe I'm already short from here and here, risking to the high a day. That's more of the trade where I would be like, all right, maybe if I'm brave enough to take the shorts up in here and then see the lower high, take them into here, and then build into this, maybe slam into the 16 such that my average stays in and around near these highs between 19 and 18, then a pullback into 13s is nice. Maybe we get the 10s, but again, this thing, it can still continue to go. This buying pressure is absolutely crazy.
No, that's a great explanation, and a lot of the levels that you're looking at, as I was as well. 16 was a standout for me, and then also the breakout level at, I want to say 12.5. Sorry, the pre-market high, which takes us about 12 1/3. It looks like that almost held to the T, because that bottoming tail candle that we just put in at 12:30, the low of which I believe is almost 13 on the dot. So yeah, great call out there, Ob. Good analysis. All right, AUID is not setting up, so I put a breakout trade on this one for the break of the 210 level. So it's straddling VWAP, but I'm not in it to straddle VWAP, so nothing for me there. By the way, Ob, 2006 Jeep Limited, dropping 5 for you in the chat there. He says, I got 5 on your haircut, bro. Cheer up, big dog. Trust me, he's not even that down. he's going to find the haircut. It's just going to be tomorrow rather than today, right? Because
hopefully he's in, man.
Hopefully he's in. He better come in tomorrow.
I mean, if it stays snowing the way it is all night long, then probably not.
I think it's going to slow down.
It's a snow day.
It is, but I think the temperature goes back up tomorrow, so a lot of the snow that we see here may not even be around for the week. Okay. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Guys, there is not a whole lot breaking out right now. It's funny because it was very strong earlier. SPHL, AUID, CJMBB, even MLEC. MLEC's halted down. But there are these bad boys, the slower movers. Let's put some respect on their name. Let's start with RZLV. I hate saying Z, by the way, but shout out to my American friends, man. 475 looks like it was a top there, takes out that level. 478, very long area of consolidation from basically 10:30 all the way to the breakout there at 12:30, so 2 hours. But the thing is, if you were locked in this trade, nothing really went against you. It kept holding a general area low, and here it is, taking out another area high into 479. We go, so RV, RZLV looking real good and taking out levels as we speak. Likewise is IBRX up 25, almost 26%. It's not rocketing up, but it's giving you that predictable stair-step up trade that we typically see with the slower movers. So IBRX could be one that you could finagle a trade in. But I'm going to be keeping an eye here on MLEC, because I want to see what this one is going to do, especially now. It looks like we're going to be a bit of a longer halt. 12:29.58 is 39. So it looks like we may be open here in about a minute, less than a minute. So I've got on my atomic clock here, 12:39.10. This one halted at 29.58, meaning the earliest it'll be open now is 12:39.58. So just right on that 12:40 time slot. And we're going to keep an eye here on MLEC. The tap, though, not looking appetizing at all. 909 halt showing 880, but I've actually seen it lower. 878, 870, it keeps adjusting. So keep your eye out on this one. We're right at the volume weighted average price. This 909 level here is right at the volume weighted average price. And speaking of volume weighted average price, Wyatt asks, why is my VWAP on SPHL at 1108 and yours shows 9? It really depends on when your chart started populating data. Mine populates data at 4 a.m. So all the price action from 4 a.m. onwards is taken into account. MLEC's open. It's really losing here though. 865 it goes. It's dropping bigly. It's not going to be tradable for me at these levels. It's below the volume weighted average price. It's got to get above 950, and it just pushed back up here to bring the price action back above into that 974 area. Limit up is 990, guys. We're showing 970. Limit up is 990, the halt level. That's the halt band. So we'll keep an eye here on MLEC. I'd like for it to set up a bit better before I work my way into this trade, if I work my way into this trade at all. But right now it's bleeding its own blood and heading right back down. Another super chat. We got Nikki P, 9784. Shout out to Nikki. He's dropping 5 Canadian in the in the chat. We do appreciate you, Nick.
Thank you.
Afternoon, lads. Huge fan of the show. Any idea what has been going on with TOI? My lady, Topicus, has been bleeding. I personally don't know, but I will look for you, my man. So let's go ahead and pull up that bad boy over here. Take a look at TOI. Oncology. Okay, you're talking about this one, right, Nick? So it's not even that bad. It's within a bit of a range. It's down, yeah, 2.4% today. So Oncology Institute. So value-based oncology company manages community-based oncology practices which serve patients at approximately 86 clinic locations in 16 markets in 5 states throughout the U.S. Segments include patient services, dispensary, clinical trials, and others. I know somebody that does that kind of stuff. Nobody got it. It's all good. All right. 3.25. It looks like it's got support there, guys. By the way, this company is a $322 million market cap. Is this the one, Nick? It's on TSXV. That might be why I got it. Okay, let me look. I do have Topicus. I see what you're saying there. There it is. Let's take a look. Okay, my bad. So this is on TOI on the TSX Venture Exchange. I have data access to that as well. No worries. So I was wondering, I'm like, what is this? This doesn't look that bad. But yeah, I see this one. Okay, let me have a look at my blotter. TOI. I'm not seeing anything, brother. But then again, you know, my blotter's probably not going to have too much in the way of data for Canadian listed stocks, but it does look quite bad. I hate to put it like that, but you did get the death cross between the 50 and the 200. You got it back on the 22nd, I believe. 23rd, 22nd, late October, to put it like that. And since that time, it looks like the 50 has been that area of resistance, the 50 EMA on the 5, which will always be the red line on my charts, on my black charts, acting as a bit of a resistance level. And I see the breakdown, yeah, the breakdown here, it looks like you're coming in to the December 2024 low, so over a year ago. Looks like that 110, though, is a money support level. And I don't say that because of just a double bottom there on, you know, the 18th and the 19th of December of 24. But take a look at what we did in the summer, early summer of 24, late spring, early summer. That 110 was money. And then look what we did after that. So it's bleeding its own blood. $9.37 billion market cap, but I do like that 110 level as support. Now, if that 110 level gives way, oh, let me just get to some more 110 stuff. Look at 110, a clear area of resistance, taking us back to June of 23 all the way to August. So that 110 level was prior area resistance and then support again. And here we are, possibly on the precipice of getting into that support level. So I'm not telling you DCA, I'll never tell you what to buy and sell, but I can just observe, that 110 level does look like it is important, at least for TOI. I hope you do well, brother. And let me know if there's anything else I can cover for you guys there. ROLR apparently is making moves. So who are we going to take off? CGTL is done. We're going to take that one off. Going to put ROLR, see what it's doing. Yeah, it's towards the top end of the range. I could certainly be persuaded to get back into that. DXYZ just ripped up $1. That's the company that holds, of course, we know SpaceX. And by the way, on the news segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the IPO. That's apparently Elon is shopping around for a banker. So that could be very, very soon.
Excited for that one, man.
I can't wait. Yeah. I personally can't wait.
Going to be. They're saying $1 trillion valuation.
A trillion.
And that's never been done.
They've never been. But we were going to have two companies, that were supposed to come out at $1 trillion. It was your boy Altman with OpenAI, and as well as Elon. He's looking at IPOing as well for $1 trillion. But I don't think OpenAI is going to come anywhere near $1 trillion anymore. I think their best days are behind them.
There's only one company that's ever IPO'd at over $1 trillion, and I think that's what was it called again?
Which one?
The gas one. The
Aramco.
Aramco.
But it's a private company, brother.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
All right.
I thought there was one in foreign markets, but
it is $1 trillion, but you're absolutely right. All right, we got to pause for a second because we have 2 special guests, and so we have to go to Adara at the big desk.
Janet Huffman, CEO and CFO of Origenics, and we also have Dr. James P. Kelly, MAMD, FAAN, and FANA. He is the CMO of Origenics. Great to have you both with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, I'm going to start here with Janet. Can you please provide us with an update on Origenics pipeline progress, and what developments are you focusing on in 2026 with that in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an exciting topic of conversation. Origenics has ONP002 as our lead asset, but we have several small molecules. Recently, we announced a partnership with Receptor AI. We're doing some exciting work with Receptor AI, using AI in our pipeline development. They're taking our small molecules and they're applying AI models to them to find potential receptor binding points. That data we'll take into the lab, which will lead us down the path of what indications those small molecules may have as we move forward. We're projecting that the use of AI could significantly reduce the time and cost it takes in our drug development process. And this is something new for Origenics. Receptor AI has been a great partner, and we're excited to see where those small molecules may lead us. We're all in on concussion with ONP002, but there are other big problems that we would look forward to solving with these other molecules, and AI is going to help lead us in that direction.
I really like that you guys are pivoting towards AI. Certainly going to be a hot topic, I think, in 2026 as well. I want to ask Dr. Kelly here, can you tell us about the expected outcomes from the company's phase 2 study and shed some more light on the severity of traumatic brain injuries, or TBI?
Sure, thanks. So the Australian locations that we have identified for this phase 2A, as it's considered, study about to launch this month, are actually about feasibility. Can we actually give this novel neurosteroid in a timely fashion in an emergency room after the diagnosis of concussion has been made by clinicians? And then we would be watching with outcome measures that have been validated, not by us, but by huge organizations on a national and international scale, looking at severity of the injury itself through eye movement, tracking systems, through cognitive testing, through symptom severity scales and such, so that we can see ultimately when the medication is prescribed and given, does it actually change the outcome? Can we track that down the road and see that people who take this medication are in fact better off? Right now, the main idea is to see that this scientific approach is feasible in that kind of emergency room setting.
Thank you so much for going over that. I want to ask you both now about the hospital merger in Australia, which I know you just mentioned Australia there, Dr. Kelly. How has this impacted the timing of your phase 2A launch, and what are your plans moving forward? I'll start with you on this, Janet.
So hospital merger, super exciting for Australia, I'm sure. Definitely has caused delays for Oragenics in our development process. We're focused on what we can control, not what we can't control. So there are 5 hospitals that merged in the Victoria region. Our lead hospital, Alfred Hospital, is one of them. So right now they're focused on what they need to focus on to get through that transition. And it has slowed down the final ethics approval that we need to launch our phase 2A trial. We expected to get that approval in Q4. It looks like it'll be a few more weeks before we get that approval. But as I said, we're focused on what we can control. So we're doing absolutely everything that we can do to keep the train moving forward while we wait for them to get reorganized around their merger. And as soon as that final approval comes through, we'll be onboarding hospitals and enrolling patients in that trial as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Dr. Kelly, do you have anything to add here with regards to the hospital merger in the trial?
The merger hasn't really directly affected our moving forward with the monitors and the clinicians that are identified to actually do this work. That's an administrative phase, issue around contracts and such that really has, as Janet has indicated. But from my perspective and what it is we need to engage in and how it is we've been rolling this out, that hasn't really slowed down very much at all. In fact, I've had a good time explaining and educating the folks on that end as to what it is the outcome measures should be and how it is to apply them under these emergency room settings. So I think we're all set in many ways and raring to go.
We've tried to find a silver lining in every cloud that occurs, right? So for us, it was, let's take extra time and let's really enroll the sites on this trial, this drug, what we're trying to accomplish. Let's do extra training. Let's make sure everybody's ready to go and excited to deliver this trial as soon as we have that final approval.
That's the best way to be, for sure. Thank you guys so much for being here with us. I do have one last question for you both. Is there anything else that you'd like our audience to know about Oragenics, and what can we expect from your company in the coming months? Anything else you want to tease out here? I'll start with Dr. Kelly on this one.
Well, I'll have Janet take the lead in the company piece, but let me just mention the dimensions of the problem we're trying to address. There is no FDA-approved medication for traumatic brain injury, so this could actually be a game changer. And the dimensions of the problem are huge. When you look at all of the other common neurological diseases people think of, such as stroke, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is ALS, traumatic brain injuries outnumber all of those combined every year. It's a huge problem, a huge human problem that we're trying to address. And I think that that's something that will finally, will make some headway. But let me ask Janet then to answer the other question about the company.
It's the company is focused on exactly what Dr. Kelly's describing. The statistics around concussion are huge. When you hear him say out loud that traumatic brain injury the numbers around traumatic brain injury are larger than all of those diseases combined, it's kind of staggering to think about that we still don't have an FDA-approved drug for this. We're all in on solving that problem, and we're excited to move forward with that. We have a lot of exciting things coming in 2026. Phase 2A is going to be a huge milestone for Oragenics. This will be the first time that our drug is being administered to concussed patients. We're excited to see what the feasibility data readouts come back at. We're going to use those as we continue to communicate with the FDA to submit our IND to move into US-based clinical trials in 2027. We've got our pipeline development that we're working on. what's the next big problem that we can solve. We're not going to take the foot off the gas around ONP 002. It's too important. It's too big of a problem to solve, and we want to be the one to solve it. But we're going to have a lot of exciting data come out of receptor AI, out of our phase 2A trials, and we're continuing to work with Sterling. We've moved our drug manufacturing out of China into the United States, and that's a big accomplishment, one we're super proud of. We're a US-based company. We're doing our work in our drug development in the US, and that drug that they develop will go into our next phase of trials here in the US as well as we move forward. So it's going to be, 2025 was a great year. We moved ONP 002 forward in great ways. 2026 is going to be equally exciting for us.
So excited to see what you guys have next. Thank you again to Janet Huffman, CEO and CFO of Orogenics, and Dr. James P. Kelly, CMO of Orogenics. Thank you both for being here with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
My bad, SSE. I know I disappointed you again today, but yeah, great cause, great interview, and yeah, we're hoping the best for Orogenics, obviously pursuing a very noble cause, and one, that we all know far too much about, and very, very little is being done about it. All right, MLEC, beautiful move up. It's reclaimed $10. It's reclaimed the volume weighted average price, and it is now halted. 1016, Obi. MLEC was a big boy mover. I don't know if you had eyes on this one, but this was another big small cap gapper on the day, up 187%.
I'm more involved like in IWM right now, which is maybe similar, right? Small mid caps.
Yeah, fair.
Whatever, but yeah, a break of trend from the morning here. If I can get my mouse to get back on the screen. Okay, yeah, right here. So you can see very, very strong off of the open. Maybe distinctly different from that of the ES and the Nasdaq. We had strong selling and then chop, 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 chop. We came back into the highs. We broke the highs on the ES once again, and then now pulling back once again as well. But IWM, distinctly different, broke out of its opening range, trending higher, and then we had this crazy acceleration right here. Let's go to a higher time frame. I just want to go to a 3-minute so we can potentially see it a little bit better here. So you can see when we finally break out of this 265.80 zone, we start pushing with volume and even faster, even stronger action there, all the way up to 267s. I did get involved here a little bit there and stepped away from the desk, stopped out, came back in. I'm like, all right, now structure is starting to break a little bit here. I got to get rid of these wicks, but starting to catch a little bit of a pullback alongside with that of the market. VWAP is all the way down at 265s and some change. So let me just edit this right here because that wick is a dark pool wick that we do not need to worry about right now. So once I get that out right there. So you can see here, VWAP 265s and some change. So I did get involved. We did have an interesting kind of a bid up there where we broke that range high. And I was just like, all right, well, my stop hasn't really come in just yet, but I'm going to wait around. And with that selling that stepped back in, now I'm looking for this range break to really follow through to the downside, maybe some mean reversion back down into VWAP here on IWM. So that's really what I have going on. Nothing too crazy. I'm about to go grab some lunch as well. Oh. So lunchtime trading on some of these large caps and ETFs. Not always very fruitful, but I'd like to sit around and look for any opportunity I can take for the most part. And it seems like IWM right now is making its way down, but so is the rest of the market. So we have some decent tailwind there at the same time. So that's all I really have going on.
And there's a whole bunch of eggs there, Obe. So I had only seen the carbohydrates that they had brought because they had the eggs and the sausages a little elevated. So your boy obviously took the liberties of, five-fingering a bunch of different eggs. So we're gonna be eating a little bit after this. So help yourself, Obe, in case you didn't see that those were there. All right, Adara, welcome back. Tell us how your trades are looking.
Yeah, I had Apple short, so I was cooking. I was like Tim Cook. I was flipping this. So here's what happens. I was like, oh yeah, guys, I might take this breakdown. Yeah, because things should be on and things should be good, but certainly was on the heat on this Apple trade. So I'm like, okay, I like this short. I mentioned it right as I was talking. Actually, it broke below that oh, I keep saying 6. 259.90 area just below 260. So I almost missed it. I kind of had to like be a little finicky with this. I did like 259.88. You can see it on the screen. So not exactly where I wanted. I usually don't like to chase, but I thought the price action was pretty good. I take that. I go to the washroom. I come back and we are 50 cents in the money. And I was like, okay, Apple. So I took go to third there, maybe presumptuous. Then I go to set up for the interview. I'm like, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. Then I look at my screen. I can see my screen from there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Apple's dropping more. So before the interview started, I ran over here. I took another little bit off. So I'm like just over half out of this. I have a feeling we might at some point break above this 250, what is this? Words. 259.20s level, so that's about where I'm going to be waiting, but I like this right now, and actually at this point I'm thinking there could potentially be reason to add to the position. Now, Adara, you already took profit here. Why would you add? As I've said, reasons to buy, reasons to sell, do not care about my average. They don't give a hoot. So with that in mind, my add would have to be where is this most recent low? 258.75. So if we directly break below that, I'd potentially be tempted to add because I do think we could still go lower, and I think Apple wants some more smoke to the downside. I like this apple crisp. What's your favorite type of apple-themed dessert or like plating of apple, Sharif? Like
I just like apple pie.
Nice, yeah. Joe would not like that answer.
No, I don't think he would. Thank you so much to SP Williams for the $5 super chat. I don't know who you're talking about there, but enough respect to you, KOS, King of Small Cappers.
Probably you.
I don't think so, though, but thank you. I call you the thinker. Your thoughts on IBRX? I'm looking right at it, man. It looks good. Next resistance levels, can you run it in your opinion? Let's have a look at IBRX. That's the bottom right of your screen there, and I've had this one up all day. I gave you RZLV and IBRX as more slower movers than some of their compatriots today, but IBRX seems, at least for the moment, to be in a bit of a downtrend now. Having said that, it's still holding up above the 10 EMA on the 5, but it's not as quick to bounce off the 10 EMA like it did over here with this doji candle, a reversal candle, and or a candle of indecision at 12 o'clock. And this was on volume, mind you. This was over 1 million shares, one of the largest volume candles on the day, ends up closing yellow. Closing yellow on my chart means open price, close price, 5 minutes later, same. So obviously some equilibrium there, but that was where the equilibrium ended because the subsequent candle at 12:05 was decidedly green, and that one kept putting in higher lows and higher lows all the way up into 386. It's at 77s right now. I don't think this is a bad look. If you were to get in here, I personally would be given 7 pennies worth of risk into 70. You could give it to that if you were a little bit more, willing to take risk and definitely had some more conviction. You give it to the doji candle low. That takes you to 360. There's another level. 350, though, the volume weighted average price and the psychological area of support. Moreover, it clearly had resistance at 350 to be expected. We know that the half dollar and the whole dollar typically act a little bit, funny with these small cap gappers. So 350 overlapping VWAP as well as, breakout levels from the implied balance high. The implied balance high was 355. That's where we got at around 9:45 this morning. I don't think it's a bad trade. Right now, it's certainly slowed down. IBRX is the ticker I'm talking about. It's basically done nothing since I've been looking at it. And this current candle, mind you, has this current candle, well, let's just go with the one that just closed. 119,000 shares. This one's got 75,000. So the volume really dropping off. We just talked about this one having over 1 million. So not a bad look, but certainly not the best at the moment. Now, CJMB is the only one I'm really looking at in the world of small cap gappers because it's holding up above VWAP. It's still generally putting in higher lows. If you were to take every area trough and identify the major trough levels, area over here, higher low over here, another higher low over here, but we're also putting in an unbroken lower high. Can't really shake that 4 1/3 either, and we know for certain that 4 1/4 to 4 1/2 is kind of that flat top zone. So you could be setting up here on CJMB for a break through that 4 1/4, 4 1/2. I don't think that that's a bad trade. I personally would give it to prior trough low. Prior trough low is the candle there at 12.25, the low of which is 356. So you're in at 416. You're going to have to risk, give or take, 65 pennies, 70 pennies or so. But it is 3 after 1, and it is time for us to start the news. There's a whole lot to talk about today, guys. A lot of chip names were in play. I'm sure you guys can tell the chip names are basically still up high single digits, so they're still in play. So let's get right down to work. And by the way, guys, if there are any small cap gappers, make sure to tag myself or Adara in the chat, and then we'll kind of identify them, stop the news, and we'll cover them. Anything you really want to cover.
Though too, actually.
Go ahead.
So NFLX, you get above and pointing this out to me. It's been kind of harder to see this stuff, so I'll pull up the chart. NFLX and watch your striking a deal with Sony Pictures. Multi-year global pay one deal for SPE films after theatrical and home entertainment windows. Not much of a move here though in the stock. That's it, Netflix.
All right, let's start the news over here. So let's talk about the China backlash right now, or sorry, the backlash to selling these H200s to China. So as we know, as we reported to you guys yesterday, the Trump administration has now approved NVIDIA to resume its sales of the H200 AI chips to China, reversing earlier restrictions. Just to put it into some context, this is NVIDIA's second strongest or second most advanced AI chip, of course, lower than the Blackwell chip, the B200 and the GB200. The new rules there are new rules though, with these new export allowances that impose testing, clarification, and allocation limits. We'll get to those in a minute. But lawmakers here and former officials are arguing the move risks weakening the U.S. lead in AI by allowing the Chinese to get their hands on these chips. Many different people, including former White House Asia advisor Matt Pottinger, he warned that selling the H200 chip could accelerate China's military modernization. You know, we're talking about their nuclear systems, cyber warfare, autonomous drones, intelligence operations, the gamut of different parts of the military that could, get a buoy as a result of having the H200 en masse. Several Republican lawmakers echoed those concerns, framing, the advanced AI chips as military-grade technology. Democrats were a lot more direct in their criticism. They argue the policy effectively hands China a strategic advantage. We're going to get to the real thing in a second, but let's just read the article. The White House argues, though, for their part, that allowing limited sales discourages Chinese firms, including Huawei, from rapidly developing. We know that the Chinese are rapidly developing anyway, so that they can be autonomous. And AI czar's David Sachs, he kind of echoed the same sentiment. He says, look, controlled exports keep NVIDIA technology ahead while, shaping global standards. If they're not going to use American technology, they're going to use their own, or, look to develop it in-house. Now, here's the deal. These are the new guardrails and oversights that have been put in with these new export controls. Export chips must be reviewed by third-party testing labs to verify AI capabilities before shipment so they don't get stronger chips than they're allowed. And China cannot receive more than 50% of the volume sold to U.S. customers. So NVIDIA must certify adequate domestic supply first before they supply any other country, including China. And Chinese buyers, that is, must demonstrate strong security procedures and pledge non-military use. Now, let's just be realistic here for a second. You can pledge whatever the hell you want. And then you can do basically whatever you want with these chips if you believe there are no cutoff switches or tracking devices, which the Chinese said, in their opinion, the H20 was compromised. I don't know why the H200 would be any different. In addition to that, we already know that the Blackwell is in China. We already know the H200 and the H100 in China. There's videos all over the internet of these things en masse there. So you're telling me that they are not able to reverse engineer the technology that they already have there, and that these H200s are going to make things worse? To me, it doesn't make a difference. We already know the Chinese have them. They get them through Singapore. They get them through Vietnam. It's just about, creating an official branch. So I don't think it really moves the needle. Adara, what's your take on this whole story?
Yeah, it does not move the needle at all. And as I keep saying, and people in the chat get really worked up when I say this, but I want to clarify what I'm trying to say here. China's going to make their own chips anyway. And at this point, they actually are, because we didn't give them the chips. So it's not like, China will get ahead if we give them our chips. No, China got ahead because you were not giving them the NVIDIA chips, at least partially. And again, I'm not trying to compare quality. That's usually where people get like, up in arms like, oh, Adara, the quality is different. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point is they're able to make strides and eventually maybe get to a better quality because you kept the chips out in the first place. So again, as you said, I think this is such a non-issue. I think it's such a nothing burger. I think the market's bored of this. I think I'm bored of it. I won't, China doesn't want the chips. The US is scared to sell the chips. It's a weird chip-related Cold War that I don't know. It's just so, it's such a non-issue, again, unless something exciting happens. But it's not like I'm trying to wish, geopolitical unwell. But I think at that point, unless that happens, it's just going to be a boring catalyst. Just want to let you guys know, U.S. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she's set to have a media briefing. It's supposed to start at 1. Usually she starts around 1:15, 1:20. I have that in my ear. Once that starts, I'll keep you guys posted.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and I'm seeing all the comments come in. I agree with you guys. The Chinese, I just don't count out the Chinese. Okay, I just don't. I've seen too much. Anyway, let's go on to the next story. U.S. imposes targeted AI chip tariffs in order kind of to push their own manufacturing. So what are we talking about here? The Trump administration is imposing a 25% tariff on select, we don't know which ones yet, high-end AI chips, including, okay, so we do know some of them, the H200 from NVIDIA and MI325X from AMD under a national security order. The move follows a 9-month Section 232 investigation, which targeted advanced semis. The action, though, is framed as a strategic effort to reduce the reliance on foreign chip manufacturing, and we know exactly who he's talking about here. It is, of course, Taiwan, where the great majority of advanced AI chips are still manufactured, whether or not they have an Arizona fab or not. The majority are made there, and they're 2-nanometer process, by the way, exclusively in Taiwan. The White House highlighted that the U.S. currently produces only about 10% of the chips that it consumes, and the tariffs are designed to incentivize domestic semiconductor production and, of course, reshore the critical supply chains which have been overseas for quite some time. The tariffs will not apply to chips imported for U.S. data centers, startups, consumer electronics, and non-data center industrial uses or public sector applications. So he just basically listed every single important sector that uses AI chips. So I'm not really understanding how this is supposed to reshore anything. Data centers, startups, consumer electronics, non-data center industrial uses, and public sector applications. That seems like a wide spectrum for me. Anyway, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick will have broad discretion to grant additional exemptions if he wakes up on the right side of the bed. The annex clarified these tariffs will not stack up, though, on previous 232 duties. They're going to be on their own, so it's not going to be another 25% on what already was put. China-bound chips must now detour through the U.S. for third-party testing. We just explained that to you guys in the previous story, and the administration signaled it may consider broader semiconductor tariffs in the future. Adara, is this just more of posturing because he seems to have a lot of leeway here for imports?
Yeah, I don't have that much to say on this. I think the way it was, I literally read the thing and I was like, this is just so vaguely worded. The whole thing, as you said, it's not really clear what they're trying to do. I think they just want to be like, okay, we had the Section 232 investigation. Here's the response. We got a fact sheet. I don't know. I don't have too much to say on this because truthfully, I don't think the White House has too much to say on this either.
All right, let's go on to the next story. Taiwan freaking semiconductor. What a report. I mean, where the hell is it? TSM, show yourself. TSM up 5.5, $344, 1.4 trillion, knocking on the door of 1.5 trillion. Taiwan Semi, not a U.S. company, mind you. Did it overtake Broadcom? No, Broadcom still 1.6.5. So let's talk about how they did. They posted a 35% year-over-year jump in their Q4 profit. Just their profit. We're not even talking about top-line growth. That beat analyst expectations, and it set a new record. Surprise there. Revenue. 1.04 trillion new Taiwanese dollars, which is give or take about $33.75 billion, which tops the estimates. Net income, came in at 505.7 new Taiwanese dollars, well above forecast, and this marks the 8th straight quarter of year-over-year growth profit Fantastic look, fantastic company. Their HPC, though, their high-performance computing, that includes AI as well as 5G. It accounts for 55% of their Q4 revenue. Smartphone-related demand, only about 32%. This was the, you know, the majority of their revenue used to come from smartphones for the Apples and for the others. Now it really is more about AI. 55% of their Q4 revenues coming from there. Now look at this. 7 nanometer or smaller or lower represented 77% of their wafer revenue, meaning that they're not wasting their time on the less advanced chips. They are really at the cutting edge, and that's where the majority of their money comes in. Beautiful look there for the full year. Advanced nodes made up 74% of their revenue, and management confirmed their plans to ramp up 2 nanometer production further in 26. But those likely will, some of them at least, will be subject to the 25% tariffs because all the 2 nanometer process for Taiwan Semi is in Taiwan. Nothing is in Arizona. They also guided current quarter revenue 34.6 to 35.8 billion. That implies a 38% year-over-year growth at the midpoint. CapEx, and this CapEx number is going to feature greatly in the next story about ASML, $52 to $56 billion. It's not the eye-watering, you know, 90 billion like, you know, we've heard from Amazon, the 60 some odd, 70 some odd billion that we've heard from Meta, but this is still pretty big for a $1.5 trillion company. 52 to 56 billion capex in 26, and analysts expect 2026 to be another breakout year for AI servers. Adara, what's your look?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's a good report, right? I think it's hard kind of to opine in these earnings reports because it's like, you know, it came out, it happened, right? I honestly, I don't want to like opine too much on something where I feel like I'm not providing any value on it. But yeah, I mean, I think I'll have more to say with the ASML part of this.
Sounds good. Let's go on to ASML. So as I mentioned, Taiwan Semi unveiling a $52 to $56 billion capex plan for the year. As TSMC's critical lithography supplier, ASML stands to benefit directly and greatly from the higher fab expansion and node transition, especially for the EUV. Now, ASML just doesn't make EUV, they make deep ultraviolet, DUV, etc. And now EUV may not be the most cutting edge. There is something in the works, the next step. We'll get to that maybe on a later date. But anyway, ASML shares, I don't know where they're at right now. Where are they at? They're up 6 1/3, pushing the market cap to over 500 billion, a major psychological and valuation milestone. Investors welcome, though, Taiwan Semi spending as a form of validation that the AI chip demand is going to benefit ASML as it is others. It reflects confidence as well that the advanced manufacturing tools remain in a bottleneck. You can't get enough of these advanced or extreme ultraviolet lithography machines. It takes, I think, like a year or 8 months to build one. What the hell is that noise?
Not mine.
Okay, something's going on. Anyway, Wells Fargo also raising the price target on ASML from $11.40 to $14.50, reiterating their overweight position. The firm cited updates to its bottom-up semiconductor model, and it highlighted the industrial and electrical AI indicators. It's the EUV lithography tools which remain mission critical for producing the most advanced chips. Adara, what's your take on ASML?
Yeah, I want to focus here on the trading side of things because I think it'll be kind of an interesting conversation. I think one of the things hopefully that I'm able to provide at this desk is a different trading perspective because we know everyone trades different things. Sharif trades these small caps, you know, Obi and Sean. Well, Obi kind of, you know, trades a lot of whatever. Sean will trade a lot of these large caps, but also trade a lot of breaking news. I trade spread, and ASML is spread. And I, especially as of lately, I've specialized a lot in these spready tickers around the open. So I think one thing that I can kind of provide is a bit of a look on that. So I think with trading these spready tickers, especially on news, especially ASML, I mentioned this earlier, if something gaps up on news, especially I find ASML with those upgrades that we had going back to the end of December as well, you want to be careful. You want to watch, and I think don't immediately think to revert it, but I think you want to be very careful and be very aware and just watch the tape, watch the book, and be patient. And I'm not recommending to anybody hop in these right away and start like, you know, trading them like a fiend. Shout out to Travis Scott off the open. But I'm saying, I think like even if you're just on the sim, even if you're just watching book, watching tape, looking at the 1 minute, I think it's going to give you a really interesting.
It's Carolyn Levitt.
Oh,
yeah.
why? I didn't realize that's so weird. It should be in my head. I'm sorry, I don't know why that's coming out. Oh, I guess the computer is being weird. if I can fix the setting on that. But either way, hopefully we'll be able to hear Caroline, and she will not be able to come to the speaker, so I do apologize for that, guys. But yeah, I mean, with regards to ASML, just from a trading perspective, I do think it's a good exercise if you do kind of want to take these types of names. Next time ASML especially has any kind of news, just watch what it does off the open, watch the tape, and again, don't jump in right away. Maybe try on the sim, see how you feel about it, but I think it can provide a really good trading opportunity, and maybe not the one that you might expect it to be. I'm going to see if I can fix the settings on this.
All right, let's go on to SanDisk, another one that's been very strong, SNDK. Let's just see do I even have SanDisk on my watch list here? I don't know why I haven't. Oh, my sim account and my other account are not jiving with the watch list. There we go. So SNDK, Katina, man, year to date, what do you think SanDisk is up? And mind you, we're only a few days into the year, Katina, man. So, Katina, man, it's up 76%. It's the 15th, bro. It's the 15th of January. Unreal. So this thing's already been crazy. Very, very strong. Let's talk about Barclays analyst Thomas O'Malley raised SanDisk's price target sharply from $220 to $385, reflecting a more constructive long-term outlook for memory and storage. The firm maintained the equal weight rating. That's something to keep an eye on there, not overweight. Maintain the equal weight rating, signaling some confidence in upside valuation while stopping short of that full bullish re-rating of overweight. Barclays framed 2026 as another AI-driven cycle where proximity to AI and artificial intelligence infrastructure in general is going to be kind of accretive to the company's value. The analysts emphasized that AI exposure alone is no longer enough, though, with quality execution and positioning and within the AI supply chain becoming increasingly more important and critical. O'Malley did highlight highlighted a coming shift where quality will ultimately rise to the top as investors debate how much AI demand can realistically be deployed as well as monetized. But he says SanDisk is being centric to the pillars of the AI ramp up, and he's implying a favorable upside and good exposure. Any comments you have, Adara, on SanDisk, so we can go to the next story?
Yeah, I don't need, it's an analyst note. I don't really want to talk about it.
All right, let's talk about Applied Material rallying on Wells Fargo upgrade today. APLD, let's see where APLD is at. In fact, APLD is one of the only negative names in the world of semiconductors, microchips. Funny enough, Wells Fargo, they did raise the price target on Applied Materials to $350 from $290, maintaining that same overweight rating. The upgrade does follow a refreshed kind of bottom-up semiconductor industry model and a broader review of sector positioning heading into next year, or into this year, I should say. He also sees Applied Material as well-positioned within the kind of the capital equipment segment to benefit from this. He says as well that they benefit from exposure to AI token-driven supply demand, wafer fabrication as well, wafer fabrication equipment, I should say, and advanced node complexity. We just finished talking about the 3 and the 2 nanometer by Taiwan Semi, and that's why analysts believe quality, scale, and strategic positioning will matter more as investors debate on how much AI demand can realistically be deployed. They also point to the industrial and electric leading AI indicators, and they tie that wafer fabrication equipment die-to-wafer model. He says that remains supportive, implying continued strength. So APLD down 0.5 point on the day, but you might want to take a look at that for the coming earnings report. Morgan Stanley next on the list over here. So obviously Morgan, one of the bigger banks, with Goldman today reporting earnings before the bell. Let's talk about this earnings report. 268, comfortably ahead of the 244 for EPS. That was expected by analysts on revenue that came in at $17.89 billion. That tops the expectations of $17.77. So an easy beat on the top and the bottom line, with the upside largely driven, funny enough, by recurring fee-based business. So typically we hear a lot about, the trading desk doing well. This is fee-based, so it's more wealth management as well as other things that they charge fee for. Wealth management right there delivered $8.4 billion in net revenue, up from $7.5 this time last year. For the full year as well, wealth management generated a record $31.8 billion in net revenue for all of 2025, with elevated equity markets as well as higher client asset values continue to provide, that powerful tailwind. Trading activity, supportive, right? But not leading like we're seeing with the fee-based management. Trading activity across Wall Street remains robust, which supported both the results in the equities division as well as in their fixed income. Investment banking showed a little bit renewed momentum with improving M&A. We've been talking a lot more about this, and the wrath of Lena Khan is over, those 4 years. And now we're seeing a lot more M&A and more IPOs coming to market. Adair, what can you take?
Yeah, I want to talk first here about MDB. People are asking me what's the news. I've seen one account comment on this, so I'm very cautious to say it's news. But yeah, it sounds like there's some kind of startup involvement here with MDB. Apparently, MDB for startups companies now represent more than $200 billion in combined valuation. I don't know if that's the story. I've seen that one headline come out. I'm going to check here on Benzinga. But yeah, I mean, really good look here for MDB. Volume, though, is very negligible. It's actually below. Yes, that is the story here. They're expanding their MDB for startups with launch partners Fireworks AI and Temporal as program companies surpass $200 billion in combined valuation. And that's a weirdly worded headline, so I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys. But yeah, that's why MDB is up. Again, volume is not significant. We are below 100 million shares in volume. Yeah, here, honestly, with Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, and just for both of them here, oh, that's not the right headline. I'll do this again, just so you guys can see this. Yeah, just so you know, Caroline's taking questions as well. But here is this question or headline there for MDB. With regards to, again, Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs, so you guys are doing a million things at once. I have this fun infographic here, Exit TTV Research. I put this together this morning. This is both reports, right, which I think is interesting. So with Morgan Stanley, expense efficiency ratio, a little bit lower here on a year-over-year basis. Return on tangible common equity, I believe, slightly higher on a year-over-year basis. Book value per share, admittedly not actually a metric I know a lot about, but either way here, 64.37. Interesting look. They had the double beat, and I think what's really interesting here, Sharif, from market reaction, because we were here to talk trading, and I always want to bring everything back to that. So Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, compared to the other banks, like we had JPM, day one, flub, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, BAC, 3 for 3, flub, GS and MS, both near intraday highs. So I think at least from a trading perspective, a market perspective, they won this earnings season, even though Goldman Sachs actually missed earnings.
All right, thank you for that. By the way, Assassino, I want to show this over here. I misspoke, guys. So AMAT is not APLD. I was looking at the wrong one. AMAT, or Applied Materials, is AMAT, which is up 8%. So this note here from Wells Fargo did certainly move the needle, 8%. My mistake, it's AMAT, not APLD. Thank you guys in the chat for correcting me, my mistake there. Let's talk about Tesla. So Tesla, it's up 0.75% on the day. It's not so bad, but that's not what we really want to talk about. We already talked about FSD, full self-drive, going into SaaS mode. He's ending basically the one-off payment that you can get at the point of sale. I think it's $8,000 in the States. Ironically, it's going to be ended on Valentine's Day, the 14th of February, will be the last time you can buy FSD and hold it in perpetuity. And yes, Katina, man, it goes with the car. It does not go with the person. And that is really important there because then, if you don't want to hold on to the car anymore. But that's not what we're talking about today. Apparently, your friend Elon is doing some shopping. But he's not looking for new shoes. In fact, what he's looking for, he's interviewing bankers for a potential IPO for, yes, that other company that we always talk about, SpaceX. Last valued, by the way, at $800 billion in the private markets in the last funding round, widely speculated to be coming to market at around, if not over, $1 trillion. That would be a record. Investors are watching, though, for potential strategic overlap. And I don't know exactly what they're watching for here, but they're looking for overlap between Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI, all of which are using AI, of course, with AI a common theme between all three. Market consensus, though, is suggesting that the SpaceX IPO headlines alone are unlikely to kind of materially move the needle for Tesla, and I would have to agree with that. Also, we are looking now, I think we're less than 2 weeks away from Tesla earnings, which are scheduled after the bell on the 28th of January. Today is the 15th. Here's what we're expecting so far. These numbers could change as time elapses. But we're looking for EPS of 43 pennies. That would be a monster drop from the 73 pennies per share they printed last year, reflecting, of course, margin and volume pressure. We see deliveries are dropping. In fact, Q4 deliveries, as we reported to you, fell to about 418,000 units, down sharply from the 496,000 he sold in 2024 at the same time as well. It would be remiss not to mention the loss of the $7,500 EV tax credit, which obviously increases the sticker price. He's tried to combat that somewhat by dropping, standard versions of the Model Y and Model 3, which are cheaper than their other counterparts, but I don't know how much that's going to move the needle. Any comment here, Adara?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, too. I kind of wonder how this SpaceX IPO is going to impact Tesla, because I think as of right now, TSLA is sometimes traded in sympathy with, like, the SpaceX stuff. But if it's its own company, I think TSLA loses some of that juice, right? Because people are just probably going to mostly trade SpaceX. Or maybe I also wonder what happens to the likes of DXYZ, right? But either way here, from an intraday perspective, just to, marketify it, if I will, on that 443.5, interesting. Let's see if we break out of it. Generally, though, we've been in a downtrend, trying to break out of that downtrend. I like this. I'll zoom out to let's do a day. Let's do an hourly. Let's be wild here. Do a 4 hour, because I think that's kind of a fun time frame. Okay, so this is kind of interesting here. 4 hour, we are having some issues here with that 445.80. Let's see if this P8 chart, percolates here. Excuse me. Yeah, that 500 rejection is really spicy. With that in mind, I mean, I wonder, you never know for sure, but let's say that Tesla does care about the SpaceX IPO. Should we get it? Maybe that's the thing that takes us to 500, because we keep thinking we're going to get that 500. We have not yet. As of right now, 4 hour, we're kind of stagnant. I think if we get above that 445, could be interesting. I think, though, getting back above that 452 and then to 500, probably what TSLA needs.
All right, guys, I want to comment a little bit here about SpaceX. Of course, we know SpaceX owns Starlink. Whether or not Starlink gets, branched off and made its own company and IPOs that way. But I just came back from vacation, and I was on WestJet. Now, WestJet is like one of the two main carriers, maybe Air Transat, maybe we got three, but it's one of the bigger carriers here that we have, of course, after Air Canada. And they have internet through Starlink. They don't call it Starlink because I think they're trying to Canadify it. They say it's with TELUS, mobile internet. But I did a little digging, and apparently TELUS is using Starlink. The reason I'm talking about this is because I have never used such great internet. Not only is it great by like home standards or by, cellular standards, but by airplane standards, it just blows the top off anything I've ever used. I've used a bunch on Air Canada, Air France, British Airways. They're all zero compared to what I was using. I was streaming the entire time. Not once did it lag. I had my cell phone connected. I had my iPad connected on the tray table, and I was just watching 20, 30, 40-minute videos the entire time. It's a 5-hour and change flight. Didn't feel it. It is some of the best internet I have ever used, and I've never used it before, so I couldn't really vouch for it. You can hear what other people have to say, and I respect that, but I've never used it myself. It is that good. And I'm talking like quality speeds. The girl beside me was downloading apps, downloading games, and she was all over the internet there, and it was really that good. So I'm just vouching for, I wanted to mention that for myself. That's my experience with the whole thing. So, if that means anything to you, if, having cell phone signals without towers everywhere is something that you think moves the needle, this could be something interesting to be invested in when and if this IPOs. So just wanted to get that. And of course, DXYZ has some exposure to Starlink, as we know. Let's talk about Amazon launching a European sovereign cloud to meet EU rules. This is something I think we're going to have in Canada as well, as people are getting quite concerned about their data being in the hands of U.S. tech companies and then U.S. government able to exercise control over those tech companies. To assuage some of those concerns, here's what they're doing. European regulators continue to push for data sovereignty, aiming to ensure sensitive data generated in the EU is stored, processed, and governed entirely within the EU jurisdiction. Now, I have my issues with the European Union and how they're fining some of these American companies, but I think this is something that we're going to see a lot more of as the world becomes quite parcelized. Concerns have grown around the dominance of U.S. tech giants in Europe's cloud infrastructure and the potential exposure of European data to non-European governments. Listen to this. Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, as a collective, control roughly 70% of all of Europe's cloud market, I should say. 70%, those three companies. So you can see their concern here. AWS formally launched what they're calling the European Sovereign Cloud, which is going to be headquartered in Brandenburg, Germany. It's physically and logically separate from other AWS regions and is designed to ensure EU-only control. Amazon created actually a new EU-based parent company that's going to control all this stuff, and they're saying it's going to be European individuals, and there's going to be management. Everybody's going to be European. Nothing is going to be American, according to this article. AWS stated that the Sovereign Cloud has no critical dependencies on non-US infrastructure, and under extreme scenarios, authorized EU resident AWS staff will have independent access to secure replica of the source code needed to maintain the services. So what they're trying to do is, I guess they're trying to, number one, get on the regulator's good side, and number two, they're trying to assuage some of the fears that some of these companies have. Any comment, Adair?
Yeah, the comment I have here is it's interesting. Trump opined on this today around 10:55 a.m. and people were going to say, I actually think maybe that could have been why we had a bit of a move in the market just before 11. But as always with the Trump 2 social post with an article involved, there is a catch. And I always like to get more into details because I like doing deep dives for you guys. And as I've said here, I think why I like to be kind of selective when I weigh in the news segments because I want to make sure I'm providing value in some way. And one of the things I provide value in is caring way too much about tiny details. So with that in mind, let's get into it. So Trump posts this at 10:55 a.m. today. This is very unfair for our tech companies and for the United States of America. So I see he's got this infographic here from X. And basically what it says is that EU is making more from fines on U.S. tech than from tax on all European tech. This is from 2024, so it's about a year old, and I haven't done the info and the research yet, but I notice that when he takes the screenshot, he doesn't have the date on the post. And I have also talked about this before. Anytime Trump posts a photo or an article or something, check the date because a lot of times they're old. So I go and I type this exact wording into X because X has a fantastic search feature, unfortunately, unlike Truth Social, sorry to say it. But so I search this up on X, and look what I get here, guys. I get a post from December 8th of 2025. So again, once again, always be careful here. When you see stuff from Trump, a lot of it is a little bit older. That being said, I think the point that I'm trying to make here, why I bring this up in the first place, is clearly on his mind. And maybe we'll get some kind of action here against the EU. Unclear if that would really be good from a geopolitical standpoint, but either way, I think interesting and potentially why we got a little bit of a positive reaction, specifically in these tech names around when this was posted. But again, older post once again here from Trump being reissued. Yeah, and we should probably mention as well, Jameson Greer basically gave a non-exhaustive list of companies, European companies that could be subject to, let's just say, reprisal or counter regulations. So, whether or not, that ends up happening or maybe it forms part of the negotiations, but the Americans are alive to this and I think they're going to retaliate. So we're going to have to wait to see. And we joke about it all the time on the show. We laugh, another American tech company gets fined by a European regulator, whether it's a European regulator or England, who's separate, obviously. But it is a pressing issue. It is a pressing issue, and I think the administration is alive to it. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin barely holding on to 96,000 as we speak, I believe, with the day low today being 95,423, the day high 98,490. So we still haven't even touched 99, let alone 100. It rallied sharply while stocks pulled back yesterday, which highlighted kind of the renewed rotation into crypto as geopolitical tensions and maybe regulatory anticipation as well. Fresh 2-month highs, though. So as I mentioned, 98,490. Here it says 97,850, but that was at the time of the writing of this article, of course. And that would put the year-to-date now for the coin at about a little bit over 10%. That's year-to-date up. Attention does remain, though, on the upcoming vote in the U.S. Senate, especially the Senate Banking Committee, which tied to the crypto industry oversight and regulatory clarity. The market views, a potential progress on this issue, a clear crypto framework, that is, as a medium-term tailwind, whether the SEC or the CFTC, when's a coin a commodity, when's it an asset, a security, Better clarity, I think, means more institutional involvement, whether you agree with that or not. I think reasonable people can disagree on that. And in terms of how the price action, how traders are doing, over the last 24 hours,
This was probably an old number. More than $380 million in crypto liquidations occurred, largely driven though by short positions getting squeezed, and Bitcoin's open interest as well rose alongside the price. What does that say? That means it's pointing to fresh positioning rather than a purely short covering interest here. So that's kind of one way to be able to tell them apart. Anyway, we're still below that key area of psychological resistance at $100,000. We're gonna have to see if it can clear it easily or whether we're gonna have, that prolonged period below the level. Any comment on Bitcoin, Adara?
Yeah, I think I want to talk about Coinbase. This is actually on our Trader TV Live watch list, so shout out to that. And as you can see, I'm trying to attempt a short here right now, but we'll see how that goes. But so we basically had the Senate Banking Committee postponing discussion of a draft crypto market structure legislation, basically a little bit after we had CEO Brian Armstrong of Coinbase, the shiny one as we used to call him here, opposing the bill. So interesting to see, I guess, a little bit of a crypto lobby. It is worth noting too, we do have at least a couple pro-crypto senators. I know Cynthia Loomis, I believe, is leaving. She was like the main person who was championing it. But we also have Bernie Moreno, who has been, by the way, a very entertaining voice when it comes to these Senate committees, specifically the Senate Banking Committee. Check that out. But I do want to say here with regards to Bernie Moreno, he was also credited as kind of the first senator to be elected by the Bitcoin lobby, right? So he had a lot of support from the crypto lobby space. He does have some crypto backing. So I think with that in mind, just if this is something you're interested in, and I think it goes beyond politics, I think it's just public interest, take a look and kind of see, like, what senators and what lawmakers feel which way about what, because I do think it's kind of an interesting look. Either way, I think it's interesting that we do have the Senate Banking Committee with, as I mentioned, at least one notably pro-crypto senator. And we have, Brian Armstrong coming up in here. I think interesting look. We'll have to wait and see what it means. But I think the biggest part of this story is that Brian Armstrong has some pull here. And we know he's been to the White House at least once before. So we'll have to keep an eye on that story, I think.
All right. I pay $14.34 with tax for my Spotify subscription. So I think you guys are going to be paying more than me if you look at it from a currency perspective. Spotify, Assassino, announced that U.S. premium price increases are moving up, baby, from $11.99. Oh no, they're moving up $1 to $12.99. The new pricing takes effect in February. Don't have an exact day. With current subs receiving advanced email notification management, though, framed the move as a reflection of increased product value and the need to continue investing in the platform and the artist ecosystem. You gotta assume it's not about value, man. This is more for top line growth, more for profit, right? And let's talk a little bit about that growth. Spotify reported monthly active users up 11% now, a little bit less than a billion, 713 million monthly active users on Spotify in the most recent quarter. That tops prior guidance. Premium subs, though, are not all 713, but premium subs grew faster than their regular subs. Get it, Katina, man. What's going on over there? The Katina Man is short silver, SLV. Keep your eye out on SLV, the Katina Man short. There it is. There's a screen right there. So let's talk about their premium subs. Grew 12%, 281 million premium subscribers, landing in line with expectations. Growth momentum suggests Spotify still expanding its base, even though very much a mature company at this point. Over the past year, Spotify's rolled out 30 product updates. This is not from last year, but I really like the fact that they have audiobooks now on it. Now, there's a limit to how many you can actually listen to per month. I think it's 5 or something like that, but I'm personally not going through that many. But I do really like it. They also have that lossless audio, super high fidelity. I like that as well from when I'm at home with my over the ear speakers. So I like this. I know you have a different take completely on how you absorb music. Any take on Spotify?
Yeah, so actually, Sharif and people, I have an exciting announcement. I might be briefly a Spotify user at some point because my godfather, shout out to Uncle Ian, who I know sometimes watches the show, for my birthday, he gave me some iTunes cards, and then he also was like, yo, I forgot, I also got you a Spotify gift card, so I might actually try Spotify. So thank you, shout out to Uncle Ian if he happens to be watching. But yeah, with Spotify, I think this is another case of Oracle. You put in the double CEOs, and the stock kind of has a little bit of a panic attack. So not to make light of panic attacks, but you got Alex Nordstrom and Gustav Soderstrom. They came in here in September, about a week after the new Oracle CEOs, maybe even a day after. But if we pull up here the Spotify daily chart, let's go here to mid-September. when this came into effect, and the chart crashed. Awesome. But I'll just yap while I do that. So yeah, I mean, I don't usually use Spotify. As Sharif hinted, I consume music a different way. I download songs and albums on iTunes individually, like a 90-year-old. But yeah, I like how I consume music. But again, if I have a gift card, I definitely want to take advantage of that. So I'm excited to try that. And maybe I really like it. Maybe I switch entirely. But I'll have to keep you guys posted. But with regards to Spotify and the daily chart, yes, oh boy, okay. So this is yuck. This is really yuck. And I think much like Oracle, the problem starts around when we get the new CEO. So this is about when you get these new CEOs and we get a big old quadunk. We are, yikes. Yeah, I think this daily chart's really rough. I think with regards to the prices, it's funny. They're like, oh, the product's good. We have to raise the price. I'm like, no, you can just let people enjoy it for a lower price. That's a really weird reason. Well, again, we'll have to see how this dual CEO structure works. Apparently Disney's also considering something like that. But I mean, if you look at how Oracle and our friend Spotify have done it, it's not gone well. I think the most notable exception of this would be Netflix. But again, I think with Netflix, they have one person who is more technical and the other person who's more like, the production side of things. So I think that's why it works. I think if you're able to balance these personalities. And again, I don't know Gustav or Alex particularly well in Spotify, so I can't comment on why this isn't working. But I think certainly the stock does not seem to like these two.
Thank you very much for that. ONDX, thank you, Buffett, for calling that out. Breakout on ONDS right now, going green and taking out some levels. It's only up 2.65, but this is a repeat offender in the world of small cap gapper. It's not technically a small cap gapper either, 5 billion and change. But anyway, taking out that key level, I want to say at 13.5, 13, maybe a little bit more than that, 55, 60. Anyway, keep your eye here on ONDS. But I want to go back to Spotify because we're substantially off the highs, guys. In fact, I believe we are 36% off the highs, give or take, of course, based on this morning's low, not the current price. Well, basically the same thing, 35%. So it's not a sharp drop either, but it's a clear stair step down. And also, you got the what's it called? The death cross. Now, to mind you, you got the golden cross back in early 23. And the two moving averages, the 50 and the 200, hadn't even come close. And that all changed, and it changed pretty dang quick, too. You got it, I want to say, mid-December. So the downtrend very much intact right now between the 50 and the 200. The 50 is going to be the red, the 200 is going to be the blue. And it doesn't look like really we're finding some support here at 500. But 500 is an important level. Take a look at the tariff tantrum low, right? We did breach the 500, but basically that same day, we ended up closing up much higher at 527. Also, 500 featured back, I want to say, in early April. It also featured as a resistance level when we were below it. Look at November, December of 24. That big election push, 500 was a resistance level that we dropped down to 440 before, clearing it decisively, going up to 650. So 500 could be interesting here. It's not like I'm going to put orders out there, but a key area of possible technical support. Let's go on to one of the last stories here. DraftKings upgraded by Wells Fargo. They see a strong Q4 and potential margin upside. So Wells Fargo upgraded Donkey Kong from equal weight to overweight, citing improved fundamentals going into 26. The bank raised its price target as well from $31 up to $49, which implies about a 43% upside from yesterday's close. And its analyst here, Trey Bowers, he expects a strong Q4 print to reset investor confidence and reduce concern around the competitive pressures that exist. Here's what he said. Wells Fargo believe DraftKings will exceed the high end of their Q4 revenue guidance, and they're forecasting about 287 to 273 million in implied. A beat is expected to support more conservative initial guidance from the company, which will possibly leave room for an upward revision later in the year, according to their outlook there. As well, strong Q4 results are seen as a key catalyst to shift sentiment after a choppy 12 months for the stock, and it has been quite choppy. Margins as well, let's talk about this. They highlighted the prediction markets, which DraftKings is getting into, as a potential margin expansion driver. That's been like the Kalshi and the Poly market, making those popular. They're saying strong execution in this area in prediction markets could help offset fears of rising competition as well as regulatory uncertainty. The bank believes Q4 performance will show tangible progress in monetization and operational leverage. And just to give you an idea here, they plan to launch the event contracts, the prediction markets, in 17 states, expanding beyond the traditional sports betting, and their total addressable market for event contracts is estimated to be at about $75 billion. That's a TAM, but that's not just their TAM, it's everybody's TAM. DraftKings, Adair, what's your look?
Yeah, it's the hard thing with TAM is that you don't have it to yourself. Everybody's part of the TAM. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, DKNG, here's the thing with DraftKings. DraftKings gets an upgrade and people get really excited because they think it's not the end for DraftKings, and then DraftKings sells off once again. So DraftKings being up today after this upgrade is honestly, go DraftKings, go. I don't think I'd bet on it necessarily. Shout out to High School Musical 2 for like that one person in the chat who gets that reference. But I mean, I think that this is actually a nice change in the tide. It is, as Obi might say, distinctly different. So I got to give them credit for that. On the daily chart, there is a level that I do not dislike, and it is 37. If we can get to that 37, I think you have obvious support. Just like intraday, on the daily chart, I'm going to look at the same thing. Daily chart support here, maybe 33.60. Let's see what happens here. That would be my take there on the king of the draft. So we'll have to wait and see, again, how things materialize, because this company tends to be really, really wishy-washy when it comes to earnings. So that, again, as the analysts said themselves, they're working here on the expectation they beat. I'm not sure they do beat, Sharif. But if they do, hey, we have a decent setup on the daily. That being said, there also is like super obvious prior support that could turn into resistance at 42.30. So that's what, $7 move? Fun intraday, maybe not on the daily chart, unless, again, your ambitions for this are much larger than mine are.
All right. Yeah, great take there. All right, guys, let's get back to some trading. That will conclude the news segment. We'll finish a little early today. I'm looking at MLEC here. So this one was halted up, and it looks like this one is starting to catch a bit of a bid. So let's look up at MLEC here on the side chart. It's still below the volume weighted average price. It's still putting in lower highs, mind you. So let's bring in the side chart and do a little TA and see if we could work our way into this. But it looks like ONDS is really going, so I'm gonna have to take that one. But here is the chart on the 5-minute chart on MLEC. So as I mentioned, we're up halted, but we're still below key levels, and we're still unbroken in this downtrend, right? I mean, he hasn't breached the trend line at all. A move possibly into 9 obviously changes that, especially at closing print. So MLEC on Uncle Sheriff's shit list at the moment, not tradable under my system. ONDS though, not a bad look. Not a bad look at all. Let's throw that one on the side chart, even though it's not a big on the day. The chart pattern does look tempting here into 14, so 14 could be resistance. Certainly we've encountered resistance at 14 before, but we also been above it. I mean, as recently as Tuesday, we were up to 1450. So what's the move here on ONDS? Well, I like a pullback into 1375, and the reason I say that is, well, that's very clearly the high of the morning. Was that implied balance? Yeah, that was the implied balance high, 1375, a clear area of resistance. It was as well in the very, very early trading day at 5 a.m. Does it make a move down there? And if it does it hold? Well, maybe by the time it's down there, the 10 EMA at the 5 won't be at 66 anymore. It'll be at 75, giving you that double whammy of support. But that's a great rounding shape over here on ONDS, possibly seeing some consolidation south of 14 to form that cup and handle pattern, and then a break through 14, which would be the top end of the handle pattern range on ONDS. Speculative, of course. ONDS, the one I'm talking about. But IBRX has been that beautiful, I'm not ripping your face off, but I'm just going to keep putting in higher highs and higher lows all day long, up almost 32%, now knocking the door of $4 with a $3.99 high. Very, very clean holds of the 10. So IBRX, if I was looking for a trade, definitely one I'd be looking at right now. RZLV, not the best of the bunch, but, still putting in marginally higher lows with that 481 high. It's not my favorite. But what I'm starting to see a little bit now on SPHL is another compression pattern starting to form. So we already talked about these lower highs, and these lower highs that basically have been operative since 2140 when we put that level at around a quarter after 11. But look at this now. Now we're starting to put some higher lows. So SPHL, man, it could get crazy, especially in the more liquid time of the day when the Katina Man and the OB will be on. I don't know how to feel about this. It's not my entry right now. It would have to break that above trend line for me to get involved, but SPHL is still up 590% a day.
How many dollars is that SPHL?
On SPHL?
It's actually not a bad breakout. I'm kind of liking that.
It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. It started out at 230 and it went to 2140.
Okay, so that's not bad. That's something I might keep an eye on that. Thank you for putting that one out, Sharif, because I do like these little triangles that break and fly higher. You know who's flying higher? David Solomon and Goldman Sachs. You know, Trump told him to stick to DJing, and David Solomon said, no, thank you. I will DJ and take the stock to 980. So I got to give him applause for that. I'm sorry, I do know I've mentioned the fact that he's a DJ several times, but like now that I know that, and also because Trump trolled him for it, it's just a fun fact. So go David Solomon, go. And you're certainly having a great day today with your shareholders. I'm sure you are, because look at this, guys. That being said, these pretty tickers, I've said this a lot, part of why I like them is they have hard beef with not beef, but they interesting interactions with the $5 and specifically whole dollar levels. I find a lot, like $10. Whole is not the right word. So like $10. So like, for example, 980 could be a level of interest here for GS. I don't know why this part of my chart is missing data. I do apologize for that, but as we know, my chart did crash, so it could be related. Either way here, let's see what happens at 980. I'm going to keep the book up while I talk about some of my other trades. So I am currently, those are both Nasdaq. So I'll talk about the things I got stopped out of before. I did have a Lily trade. I tried this short. It looked good. I should have maybe moved my stop here, but I thought that might have been a bit conservative. I wanted the VWAP breakdown. Did not give me the VWAP breakdown. It did stop me out. I lost like roughly 2 risk units on this, just under. So I mean, obviously not pleased as punch, but I took the trade that I thought was worth taking, and I think that's all that ever should matter, regardless of what you're winning or losing. Here's Coinbase. Here's COIN. I got involved in the short at VWAP. I did show this while we were talking about Coinbase on the news segment. I added here at this little level that we touched at that point 2 times. Third time was the charm, and we broke it. That is 256.60. As you can see, my average, 246.60. I wish it was 256. Excuse me. As you can see, my average is just around 247. I want to see if we crack below that 246. That'd be pleased as punch. I'm ready to take some profit at this previous level of support and resistance around 245.5s. That would make me very happy indeed. It would also make me happy is if ASML decided to keep staying below the VWAP. Why did I like ASML? I'm going to have to zoom in. Yeah, so as you guys can see here, we had like this triple top here of that 346. I tried to get it 1344s, didn't work, that's fine. Then I see we make this kind of low here. This is a slightly higher low at, what is this, around 13, just below 1342s. Then we reject VWAP cleanly. And I say, hey, if we break below 1342s, you know what that is? A lower low, and I would like smoke. So I do take that smoke. Right now, we are flat-ish on it. We are a little bit in the money here on Coinbase, but again, guys, it should never be about the P&L. It should be about the process and the learning. And one more thing I do want to say as well, because I know our time is coming to an end. We've got about 5 minutes left. But I know I trade a lot of different tickers, and I do want to talk about that because I do know that Sean and Neil will often say how many tickers they've traded in the day. So I think for me, the reason I like to trade a lot of different tickers is because I find sometimes, as I mentioned earlier with regards to Oracle, if I focus on too many tickers, like usually the days I get shut down are my worst days, I've only traded a couple tickers and I've only taken a couple fills. And that's like, usually I'll just get slippage or I'll be focusing on the wrong thing. I'll try, the wrong thing with too much size. That's a lot of my issue. For example, that was me yesterday with App 11. Now with the case here of ASML, or just, in general, like, I think it's just better if I'm trying something, it doesn't work, I move on. I try it, it doesn't work, it moves on. Like, if I have a valid reason, at least in my opinion, to try things at the time, and again, I'm not trading on tilt or in revenge, and it's all hunky-dory, then I think I have no issue just trying something a couple times, but I think in general, like, I want to make sure I'm continuously looking at other things, because I think if you don't have a lot of things in your roster, you could run the risk of just getting too obsessed with one ticker and just punching into oblivion. So that is a little bit of a chat as to why I take a lot of different tickers. I see some people talking about the speed at which I speak. I do apologize, but also, you know what, I don't also, because this is the speed at which I talk, and these markets move pretty fast. And so I have to keep up with these here markets, and I will. And if you think I'm talking fast, as Obi once said, imagine how quickly the tape's moving. So, but yeah, all jokes aside, thank you for being here with us. I'm really grateful to be here with Sharif and with all of you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great look today, Dara. All right, guys, ONDS did break through 14, but as I kind of suspected, the break was quite fleeting. It was a 14.07 break, hardly a decisive take of a key level, and down it goes here, Bovin. Into about 13, and okay, bouncing back. I thought it was going to lose into the 70s. So I'm looking at ONDS because there's not a whole lot to look at, sadly. But if I was sitting in a trade and I wanted something calm, it would definitely be RZLV. up 18%. IBRX up 31%, continuing to stair step up. IBRX might have a bit of a tougher time breaking through a key area of resistance, $4 to $3.99 high, whereas our RZLV is still a little bit away from $5. So you could see this one maybe moving into the whole dollar level as a key area of resistance. 481 high, showing 79 right now. So not a bad look there. SPHL would be the only other one I'm looking at, simply because it's still well above the volume weighted average price. In fact, it's trying to trade above the 10 EMA on the 5. $16, as Obi rightly pointed out earlier, is a key level of resistance and has continued to act as one, at least for the last 20 minutes or so. So, I mean, I'm not taking any trades now with about 3 minutes left on the show, but those are the ones that I'd be looking at. I've been skating my my top scanner over here for any new ones to make their way onto the scene, and there just really isn't. So it looks like, you know, the small cap gappers had their moment in the sun early in the show, and then, you know, all of it kind of broke down, and they really haven't recovered, whether it's AUID, MLEC, CJMBB, they're all continuing to break down over here, save and except for RZLV and IBRX, which are still, you know, stair-stepping up. Other than that, that is all I have. If there are any other small cap gappers making their way onto the scene this late into the show, tag me right now. I'd love to have a look at them. Bovin is saying AHMA. Great save there, Bovin. Talk about that for the next couple of minutes. AHMA, pardon me. Whoa, whoa, whoa. This is a 3-candle monster breakout. This is the daily, by the way, and it's up another 82% today, HAMA. This is a big move now. It's suffering from the same thing it suffered from when you showed it to me earlier, the volume. The volume is bupkis today. Where is it at? Where's the hell of the volume? I don't know why I can't see the volume here. Oh yeah, 2.25 million shares on a $28 name. Not bad. What's the spread on this? Let's pull this up on a trading screen. Take off ONDS, AHMA. I don't mind leaving this on for tomorrow, given that it's had 3 monster days. So the spread here, 50 pennies, a lot more. 27.72, 28.30 on the ask. So slippage is an ever-present concern and has to be for anybody trading this. But hey, with an 80% day again, who can complain there? It keeps making all-time highs all day, says Bovin. Roller coaster as well. ROLR, my biggest winner yesterday. This trades on the Amex. I was talking to, what's his name, Ben in the back in there, and he has the same bias I have, but the Amex. He's like, I like to touch the Amex. And I can echo that sentiment. Nobody likes to fly blind here when you're caught in a halt. But ROLR, not bad, up 40% on the day. It hasn't done much in the way of anything, I want to say, since about 12:20. Very consolidative Hertz Scrambler, but holding 26. But what I see here are more lower highs and I have higher lows. So that kind of puts me a bit concerned. All right, show's over. The end is here. It is time to send you to the big boys. Send them off a dare.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Hope you had a great day trading. Hope you learned something. Hope you had fun. If you guys want to know updates on these positions, just tag me in the chat. I'll keep you posted. But until then, I think you're going to have Obi and Sharif back at the midday tomorrow. You'll see me at that news desk in about half an hour, and you'll see Sharif there right away. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thank you very much. And we have a BBAI super chat for Sean to cover when they switch over to their
Katina, man, it's all yours.
Yo, what's happening, guys?
Big Bear AI, eh? Okay. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Obi, how you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good. I did not prefer the meatballs. How about yourself?
Yeah, they were okay.
They were okay, okay. From one Italian to another, yes. But
Is Costco meatballs or something? That's what.